Round 30 of the Nations Cup in the North America region is underway. Here comes McMillan on the inside. Andrew Brooks, he dominates. We are racing. Beauvois lost the position off the start, getting through the first turn. There was definitely contact there. A little bit wide there for Coque Lopez. That's going to throw him off line. Valerio Gallo win round 30. Wow, look up deep.
He's made a mistake coming out of the right-hander.
Dylan Lindgren wins. Hello and welcome to the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championship. It's the EMEA Regional Finals. My name's Tom Brooks. Alongside me, Jimmy Broadbent as ever. We're here in a brand new studio. New digs, new set. This is all right, isn't it?
Awesome, isn't it? Also complete with these very fancy GT seats as well. Much better than the wooden stall that we've been used to for the last however many months. But awesome to be back.
Yeah, you're just raging about the aircon. You're loving it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Goodness me. Well, a new set and some new people involved in the production here today as well. Very pleased to welcome our analyst for the EMEA Regional Final and indeed for future events as well. Steve Brown, otherwise known as Super GT, joins us. Steve, how are you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, cheers, Tomo. Doing really well, actually. Thank you to Gran Turismo for having me along for the show. Now, I've been given my own room down here, and I keep a very close eye on all the drivers, see what they're getting up to.
And not only do we have Steve Brown, we also have a familiar face who's been hibernating all the way since Sydney, Miss Julia Hardy.
I mean, I don't know if hibernating's the word for it, but definitely been a little bit of downtime. But I'm super, super excited to be back with the GT family. I've missed you guys.
Yeah, you're all right.
Wow, I was actually trying to be sincere and heartfelt for once. Thanks. I won't waste my time doing that again. Wow. No, it is supremely a real joy to be back amongst the GT family. And of course, because, you know, we can't be with each other kind of face to face in the same way we're used to in our world tours, we've created this wonderful grid wall, as you can see behind me, so that we can see exactly what the drivers are up to and just kind of what weird faces they pull when they're driving. First of all, though, we do have Baptiste Beauvois, who has been kind of ahead of the curve for most of this competition. Nipping at his heels is Valerio Gallo, who has his race face is very, very serious, I have to say. And then, of course, the World Tour, you know, stalwart, which is Coque Lopez. Here he is. Everyone's concentrating, getting their kind of practicing in. But we do have some fresh new faces as well. So we have Jose Serrano, who's a Spanish driver, who's just behind us here. Oh, I'm quite interested in everyone's shelves, actually. It's lovely. It's got some nice shelves behind there. We've got Christian Malki, who is a Swedish driver. And we've got Marcin Swiderek, who's from Poland. And we also have Nikita Moisov, who is from the Czech Republic. Now, those last three, Christian, Marcin, and Nikita, this is the first time we've actually had their countries represented. So that's quite exciting. I feel like we're kind of stretching and reaching our tentacles further out into the world. Not sure how I'm going to segue back to Tom and Jimmy in a minute, but here we go. But before we do that, I'm going to break down the races for today. So 3 races, of course. First one will be Autodromo Lago Maggiore with the GR3 cars. That'll be our first race of the day. The second race of the day will be for the Autodromo Nazionale Monza, but like without the chicane. So like don't, you know, bit nicer. And then for our grand final, which lest we forget is always double points, just to make it that little bit more exciting, which is going to be at the circuit de Spa, and that's in the X2019 Red Bull cars. So, you know, even if you kind of mess up the first few races, there is still everything to play for. I'm very excited to be back. I think it's time we get this all underway. I'm going to kick it back to Tom and Jimmy. Over to you guys. I'm saying it like you're not right next to me over here. They're like, I can literally just almost touch their shoulder. It's great.
It's a socially acceptable distance. That's what we like, anyway.
I know, kind of chuck stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I will, as we go on.
Well, some new faces then, some that are old as well, or older, more familiar with, and some interesting car track combinations. What are we expecting for EMEA region?
Well, EMEA has always been sort of the region to watch. No disrespect to the others, of course, but all the hot action seems to come from here. And that was exactly the same story in our top 16 superstar races earlier on this year. We've actually thrown together a little series of highlights. So if maybe you missed the action, you can recap it here and now and see all the rivalries in between.
We are racing! Can he hold it all the way around the outside through there? That's brave. It might cost him as well here because Lopez is on the outside here. Here comes Covenant as well on the outside of Lopez.
Drafting 205 mile an hour. I saw for a second go on Gallo's clock. Kepler goes up the inside, but he goes in deep.
Loading stage, and Salazar spins it round. That is an absolute disaster. Baptiste Beauvois are about to go 3 wide into the left hand. Is Beauvois going to send it down the inside of them both? Into the left hand we go, and he does it.
I mean, that would have been pretty sweet. And Swinderick, he's gone.
Into the chicane, is Beauvois going to try and send it around the outside to the chicane? What a move from Beauvois! Goodness me, what an exciting year we've had so far in 2020 in the top 16 superstars. And it's said to be exactly the same here in this regional final as well, isn't it? I think we're really looking forward to this afternoon.
I mean, who wouldn't be? I mean, it's been so long since you've got to do one of these finals. Just glad to be back and doing things, really. So let's talk about how people have got here, of course. We've had 12 finalists come through from those superstar races. And we also have 4 from our extra stage time trial competitions. One of those guys is Salvatore Maragino. Here he is right now in the Red Bull X2019 with a fantastic time around Suzuka of 1:38.350. Now, we've said before, it's one thing to do that time on a track on your own with nobody else around you, but when you then got chucked onto a race circuit with 16 other people who also want to think they're the best in the region, then it's a bit different, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like you say, it's one thing being able to do it out on your circuit on your own, but when you're in and amongst different competitors, it is going to be a very different kettle of fish. Anyway, let's take a closer look, shall we, at the competition format that we've got taking place here today as well. So that's going to be coming up on screen behind me here at the GT Death style of area. You can see we've got 16 drivers per region for our regional finals in EMEA, Americas, and the Asia and Oceania. Drivers will accumulate points in all 3 races here today. Race 1 and 2, you get 12 points for the win, 10 points, and so on and so forth. The grand final, as you can see, is double points as well, so that can really shake things up. So from the EMEA region, we've got the top 8 competitors will be going through, then the top 4 from the Americas region, and the top 3 from the Asia and Oceania region. They will then go on to compete in our world final event. So it's a pretty exciting competition format. And although there's 8 places up for grabs here, Jimmy, with the EMEA region, it's set to be quite difficult, I would imagine, to try and make those top 8 places.
Yes, definitely. It's one of those, we're the most competitive region out there, so it very much needs to have a concentrated driver. Otherwise, you're going to be losing out. However, one of those drivers who we sort of expect to see at the top of the pile is Baptiste Beauvois. He did oh so well in the Superstars earlier on this year. Earlier on, I caught up with him. He's got some brand new digs. He's in a nice place right now. Bonjour, Baptiste. I understand you have some cars that you want to show off a little bit for us.
This is the Lamputo car. We race in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. A Ferrari 458.
There he is.
It's Ryan?
That's right.
Mate, it's confidential. I'm training now.
You've been racing, of course, in the European region, so EMEA. Is there anyone outside of that you have your eye on?
I'm afraid about nobody, but I know everyone got the same goal, the same target, at this level of the competition. I will currently drive against the 15th fastest driver in Europe. So, of course, it's going to be hard. It's going to be not easy for me, but like I said, I'm very confident. I know what I can. I think I proved already what I can during the official season. I will try to make the same for the regional finals, and let's see.
Is there a big difference between online events and racing at home?
For myself, I'm faster at my home, but in the future, I will try to be fast as well in the World Tour event.
Well, thank you so much, Baptiste. That was great, dude. Really appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thank you, mate. Bye-bye.
So yeah, Baptiste Beauvois, very, very confident, very sure of his ability, and so he should be, really. I've been taking a look at some of the stats of this season for him. He's had 13 wins in the Nations Cup. 40% of his races in Nations Cup he's won. So he's actually a very, very successful driver this year. Someone had to take up that mantle, given that the 2019 Nations Cup champion, Michael Hizar, isn't competing so much this year. Very aggressive driver. If you see him further back in the pack, be sure that he's going to make that overtaking manoeuvre. Really, really exciting to watch. Back to Tom and Jimmy.
qualifying is underway now for the competitors. They're just heading themselves out onto track. Let's have a look, shall we, at Coque Lopez, the Spanish driver who we've mentioned so much over the course of 2020. A hot lap from him.
Hello guys, Coque Lopez here, and I'm gonna show you a good hot lap for the first race of Nations Cup Finals. As you saw, I prepare as good as possible the last corner to have a good acceleration in the beginning of the lap. Now here for the first corner you have to brake very smoothly because you need to have a good cornering speed here to go out of the corner very fast. And here you need to, let's say, to be very fluent because they are not hard brakings or anything like that. So we finished the first sector. It was actually a good one. And here you have to try to cut as much as possible the inside. And same here, because they are fast corners. So you need to go fast through them. And here you try also to cut a bit the inside, so then you have a good exit of the corner. It's very important to go fast from this corner because now we have a long straight ahead. And now this is a very crucial part. You have to try to go here flat out and trying to cut as much as possible these three corners because it's important to carry a good speed through them. So it's easier to do it if you try to cut them as much as possible. And here you try to be also smooth on the braking because otherwise you will slide. We go through the last sector of the track. This first corner of the last sector, braking part overall is so difficult because you cannot see the apex. And then you have to try to have a good cornering speed here also. Then the last two corners, you have to try not to lose too much speed here and to prepare the last corner. So then we go fast through the straight. So guys, this would be a good fast lap of the first race. 56.1 will be a very close time to the pole position. So yeah, I think you can learn from this and I hope you really like it. See you.
Well, there you go. That's how you do it. Saying that, of course, that Coque Lopez isn't usually a qualifier. He's more of a race expert. So take his advice with a pinch of salt, maybe.
Yeah, well, perhaps. I mean, he gives himself a bit of hard work to do. The drivers have been busy qualifying out there on track, and the results of the session are as follows. So Valerio Gallo, the fastest man, the Italian driver, who's been on imperious form as of late, really. It's him and Baptiste Beauvois have been making the headlines, and that is exactly the same story in qualifying. Gallo from Beauvois at the top of the order.
Okay, we're about to get ready for race number 1, and we welcome you to Italy for Autodrome Lago Maggiore. A really interesting circuit, this one. Really fast and flowing, technical as well. First sector, really nice elevation change through there. And then you have a really nice straight at the back, which lends itself to overtaking. And then in the final sort of half of the lap, you've got lots of twistier technical corners, which also lend themselves to overtaking, hopefully. It really is a roller coaster, especially for that first sector. Absolutely love that section of the circuit. It really is a good track, and it's one that probably lends itself to the pole sitter, well, most races do, to be fair, but this one especially does. So if Valerio Gallo can get away, the rest of the pack, he'll surely do quite well. Let's bring up the race details for you of race number 1 of the EMEA region. Often we get these slipstream trains where cars often get stuck behind each other. But again, as I alluded to, it's that final sector where we get some overtakes. That's a quick look at the track. Over to Julia.
Well, obviously part of my job here today is to kind of give the drivers the opportunity to kind of like let us know what they're thinking and kind of where they're at as we're kind of going into these races. So I've got some little quotes. I've done some little digging, little conversations to find out just where they're at. So Coque Lopez says, I'll try to get a podium, or why not fight for the victory? Some fighting words there. We've got Adam Sassuolo says, the different cars each person has for the first 2 races should make for some interesting racing. That's interesting. Valerio Gallo says, I feel very confident and I'd like to drive with that passion. It's the fuel inside of me that helps me face important races like this, which is quite powerful. I feel that's lovely. I would have that on an Instagram page quote with some like flowers around it or something, I don't know. And then we've got Salvatore Maraglino, who says, I feel calm except for the second race in Monza, where I always have some problems interpreting it. So he's a little bit mindful, but I feel like they're all sounding pretty confident there.
It's time for race 1 of the EMEA Regional Final for the FIA Gran Turismo Championships. Group 3 cars at the Autodrome Lago Maggiore. Valerio Gallo, the Italian, qualifies on pole position, 156.1 for him. Baptiste Beauvois just 0.02 of a second behind in the McLaren 650S alongside him on the front row. Jose Serrano qualified P3, the Spaniard in the Audi R8, with fourth position being Rick Kevelam, the Dutch driver in the Renault RS01. Coque Lopez lines up P5, not a bad qualifying from the Spaniard there. Alongside him is Giorgio Mangano, home soil for him. Let's see whether he can get a strong result this afternoon. Marcus Connaughton, the Finn in the Volkswagen Beetle, lines up P7, with Adam Tapai, the Hungarian in the Citroën GT, alongside. Final row just inside the top 10 is Christopher Mauki, a newcomer here today. The Swede lines up P9 in the Nissan GTR, with Nikita Moisov, a fellow rookie. Czech driver in the Ford GT is P10. 11th place, Adam Sassuolo in the Toyota FT1. Tricky old machine, that having some troubles with it in qualifying by the looks of things, with Manuel Rodriguez in the Aston V12 Vantage alongside. P13, Salvatore Maraglino, the Italian driver. Difficult qualifying, as Jimmy mentioned, for him. Carlos Salazar in the Volkswagen GTIV GT alongside. And the final row of the grid, Patrick Blajan in the Lamborghini Huracan. And alongside him, completing our 16 drivers, is Marcin Swideric in the Toyota GR Supra. So the drivers then all starting on the hard compound of tyre here, Jimmy. Of course, it's only the one tyre compound that's available for these races, but 7 times tyre wear means they're going to be pretty worn out, one would imagine, by the end.
Yeah, a bit skatey towards the end, but you sort of expect that, and these guys know to expect that as well. The grid, funnily enough, was actually really close between 1st and 15th, within a second. Then Swideric's another 2/10 off the back of that, so the Polish driver maybe feeling the pressure a bit. Of course, it was super pole format here as well. Maybe a reason why he didn't quite get the time he wanted. Serrano, of course, our newcomer starting third. What can he do? New fresh face here, looking to try and challenge our stalwarts, Gallo and Beauvois, who start first and second respectively.
So coming through into the final series of corners, there is Jose Serrano in the Audi R8 through the final corner. Valerio Gallo is going to lead the field over the timing line in the Honda NSX, followed by Baptiste Beauvois, then Serrano, who is going to lead the way, though, at the end of these 7 laps. EMEA Regional Final, race 1 is about to get underway. We're going green and we're racing for the EMEA Regional Final at Lago Maggiore. So Valerio Gallo leads the field over the line as they come into the first corner. It's quite a quick first turn, but they have to stamp it on the anchors going in towards turn 2, and that's where we could see the drivers beginning to close up. Don't expect too many moves into those first couple of corners, but as they begin to get temperature into the tyres and the brakes, that's where we could see drivers getting a bit more confident and a bit more brave. Only 7 laps to remind you here as well, so there's not a lot of time for them to be making these moves here, Jimmy. They need to be thinking about doing it whilst this field's bunched up, one would imagine.
Yes, definitely. Of course, slipstream in any of the cars in GT Sport, a big help down the straight. And big straight comes after Sport at the bottom of the field here. Here we are coming down the hill towards the roller coaster corner. You see it there, look at that camber elevation change. Fantastic to drive through, of course. Keep an eye on your mirror though of your Coque Lopez. You've got Giorgio Mangano up behind you, Rick Kevelam in front. Now we're in the draft on board in the Mazda, going up the hill. A great section of circuit through here though. It's definitely not a place to overtake. A sweeping left-right complex. You take it almost at full speed in these things, these Group 3 cars. Again, focusing on Coque Lopez in the Peugeot, the top 2nd to 5th, quite close, with Valerio Gallo actually managing to pull a little bit of a gap. 1.2 seconds now to Baptiste Beauvois, who's heading this little pack now on board with Lopez on the roof of the Peugeot, and then we plunge back downhill, a bit wide there, very easy to do on this circuit. Pick up a little bit of the grass as we come now down into long left hand. It takes a lunge at Rick Kevelam. Will he get it done? He may do. Forces Rick off the line, but he's going to slow himself down up the hill, and now it's a drag race up to the left-hander.
You can see that happening from a mile off as well. Kevelam went defensive into the corner, just overcooked it whilst going offline, outbraked himself, and now they run side by side as they come over the crest and into the left-hander. Lopez on the inside. Kevelam still holds it firm then on the outside. This is a great tussle for 4th position. It's the Renault ahead of the Peugeot. Lopez is off the track nearly, and that's going to allow an opportunity for Mangano to get quite close as they come into the final series of corners. Very much elbows out then as they come to the end of the first lap and over the timing line. So Kevelam in 4th place has managed to hold on ahead of Coque Lopez. Now Lopez coming to pressure from Mangano. Connaughton as well as Tapine, not too far adrift as they all run nose to tail coming through the first corner. Here's Lopez back up the inside then of Kevelam. Side by side they come through the first corner. Kevelam's going to try and hold it around the outside, runs off onto the grass, bit wide there as Lopez forces the issue. Here comes Mangano as well on the inside, but he's going to flick it left and doesn't have the track position. So Lopez, a beautiful bit of driving there for him. And now Mangano is the man who is on the move as he tries to put the pressure onto the Dutchman in front.
Yeah, these guys, of course, fighting. All that's doing there in front is letting Serrano and Beauvois get away. So whilst 4th to 8th are covered by less than a second, second, third, and of course first, Valerio Gallo all getting away. Coque Lopez gets it wrong going down the hill there. Just picks up a little bit of grass. It's going to compromise him now for this left-hander. Rick Kevelam will get a better run out the corner, but doesn't quite get out the corner well there. Maybe a little bit of oversteer, a little bit of issue with traction. Can happen in these cars. They don't tend to run traction control. Giorgio Mangano is trying to try and get alongside. The Dutchman coming into the fast series of corners, not quite able to do so though. Again, it's very much one at a time through here, so you get stuck behind someone, you get this view, the rear bumper and rear spoiler of the car in front. Interesting to see the sort of slight differing in lines through here. A lot of the guys going quite wide, pick up a little bit of this grass next to that's Coque Lopez's line in front. That's where the dust came from. And again, we come back downhill. Rick Kevelam trying to repeat the move that Coque put on him the last lap. Can't quite give that soft low. I think now they need to start focusing on going forward instead of squabbling with each other. And I say that, Mangano's going for an overtake.
Here we are then, side by side down the straight over the crest of the hill. Is Mangano going to send it down the inside later on the brakes in the Porsche? Is he going to go through? Very close as we cut back to the camera angle. Kevelam now has the inside line for the following right-hander. Mangano's going to try and hold it round there, but he's not going to have the opportunity or the track position to do so. So he now needs to be a bit smart and try and set something up for the final corner. Get a good exit out of there and allow the slipstream advantage that he will have over Kevelam to take place. But of course, Kevelam is very close behind Coque Lopez there as well. So kind of negates that for the time being. Over the timing line we go. Gallo still leads the way. 1.5 seconds nearly the gap between himself and Baptiste Beauvois. Serrano in third. Then is the battle for fourth position, which still continues on. There's quite a bit of daylight between the two Spaniards of Serrano and Lopez. And look at the train of cars that is following behind Lopez at the moment. This is getting very, very interesting indeed. And it's a case of one simple mistake could cost you a few positions here.
Yeah, this is a dream start though for the guys at the front of the field. They're basically just driven away from everyone down from 4th, 5th and 6th. Serrano as well. His first official race here in the regional final. He's just sitting there in third place, happy as Larry.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go down to Steve. What have you got for us, Steve?
Yeah, just trying to look at the best overtaking opportunities on this lap, because at the moment there haven't really been many changes in position other than Coque Lopez and Kevelam. It looks really difficult to overtake because of the slipstream. You go for the overtake, you pull out, but then you have got the slipstream the car ahead. So then we've seen that a couple of times where Kevelam has been able to stay ahead of Mangano because he has the slipstream with Coque Lopez.
That's kind of what it is, it's like around this circuit. Of course, thank you for that, Steve. Is these guys are all of the same, very similar level of skill around here. So it isn't just a matter of sending one up the inside and then they'll get out of your way. Everyone's going to fight for every inch of tarmac. And what Steve means there by the slipstream not really working is when you pull out, of course, that hole of air punched by the car in front suddenly just disappears, and you're then met with massive air resistance as you pull out to try and overtake. And of course, all that is simulated within GT Sport. So if your car isn't too hot in a straight line, you just sort of get stuck. And Coque Lopez right now, that Peugeot, which does seem pretty quick in a straight line.
Yeah, it certainly does, and you can see, and that also indicates just what an unbelievable job that Valerio Gallo has done to put a 1.7 second gap between himself and Baptiste Beauvois. Likewise, Beauvois 1.5 seconds ahead of Jose Serrano. There is Valerio Gallo coming over the timing line once more to start lap number 4 out of 7. We're over the halfway stage here in this race, and still it's anybody's guess who's going to hold on for 4th position at the moment, because Coque Lopez is absorbing that pressure like a sponge, but he is really going to have to try and keep his nose clean. But you can see that Kevelam has just fallen back a little bit adrift of him, and now Mangano is the driver on the attack, coming through the right-hander. They're going to flick it left. There's no opportunity for Mangano to find his way through into there, but maybe if he can set something up coming out of that corner, it may present an opportunity for him, but it is so difficult to do so, as Steve was alluding to just a few moments ago. It's very exciting. There's lots of tension built in, and that's exactly what we love to see. Just to remind you, of course, 12 points on offer for the race winner, the grand final being double points there as well. So it's all to play for here. 8 drivers will go through to our world final event for the EMEA region at the end of today.
You definitely want to focus really on that last race, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be trying to get as many points as possible as the time goes on. And as we've said, extreme start for Gallo and Beauvois as well. What is with Giorgio Mangano right now? You're sort of at the point where you think, well, hang on a minute, I'm faster than these guys. Why am I stuck here? And it shows how important qualifying is here as well. I mean, just a tenth of a second either way can put you up and down a couple of positions. And Mangano, who I think probably is the quickest of this little pack here, he's just stuck. There's nowhere for him to go. And that's the frustration when you don't qualify as well as you think you should.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Hungaroring. You know, that circuit, everyone compares it to a street circuit just because of its characteristics. You can follow closely to the driver in front of you, but you can't quite find your way past because there's so few opportunities to do so. It does make it a very unique challenge for these drivers. I just saw Kevlin there getting a little bit squirrely coming through that very fast S-bend. You can see the car on the ragged edge of adhesion going through there. So I wonder whether Kevlin's just taking a bit more out of his tyres compared to those around him. Those front tyres are going to be quite worn given the fast and medium speed corners that they have here as well. So maybe towards the latter stages, that's where we'll start seeing those mistakes creeping on in.
Yeah, it could definitely be the case as those tyres go away. As you said, Tom, we're on board now with Giorgio Mangano up behind Rick Kevlin. He's in the Renault. Mangano in the Porsche looks to the inside now. I think Mangano's had enough of waiting behind Rick Kevlin. Dive to the inside. He should be on the racing line. Is Rick still there on the outside? No. He pulls back into the toe as Giorgio Mangano finally gets by Rick Kevlin cleanly and can now try and catch Coque Lopez. Now we're going to see what pace Giorgio actually has. If he pulls straight onto the back of Coque Lopez, we know he's quick. If he struggles, then maybe he wasn't the quicker in the pack. But definitely a positive move for him. But now you have to wonder, how far back is Kevlin going to drop? Cononen's there as well, doing very well as Cononen. We don't usually see him in this sort of area of the field. Tends to not be able to challenge the quicker guys towards the front, but he's there, and if not a little bit better today, and that's glorious Group 3 Peter. I missed it.
Sticks out like a sore thumb, that thing. You can see the very unique interior as we ride on board here with Marcus Cononen coming over the brow of the hill into this left-right hander, and just look at the steering wheel. I was going to say this, we hope we'd stay on board with it there, but we didn't. But look at the car moving through here. You can really see it on the ragged edge of adhesion there as they're putting that lateral load through those tyres. You can see Coque Lopez there taking the curve on the inside as well, and how close all these drivers are running to one another. The gap between Mangano and Lopez, 0.8 of a second there as new mistakes beginning to creep in now in these closing stages here from these drivers.
You don't want to pick up that grass over there. That's a one-way trip to Scary Town, which definitely exists. I've been there. It's not a very nice attraction. But Cononen now, he's lost a bit of time. He's now dropped off the back, just as we were praising him, of course. And typical commentators curse in the background. Ford GT going for a move there. Not actually sure who's in that. I think it's maybe Nikita Moisov, who just went up into 9th place, getting past Malky there behind, just behind this little scrap of Cononen. Just sort of getting a little bit of it now. But Cononen now looking to try and gain that time back on Rick Kevlin. He already has, actually. He's now right onto the back of the Renault as well. So maybe Rick's struggling a little bit now on tyres as the race is going on.
So over the timeline we go then to start the penultimate lap here at the Autodrome Lago Maggiore. It looks like Valerio Gallo is in a very strong position still once more. He sits 1.6 seconds ahead of Baptiste Beauvois. So that gap, though it increased quite dramatically on the opening lap, it hasn't really increased past that. It pretty much stabilised after that first lap, but still Gallo doing a good job of just setting consistent lap times over the course of this one, and he's around about 1.5 or so quicker than Baptiste Beauvois as we look at the timing screen at the moment. But look at that train of cars following Marcus Cononen. Tapine, Moisov, Malky and Adam Sassuolo all involved in the mix there, and that's in the lower half of the top 10. And well, of course, we know that points do mean prizes, very much so, and any points that they can gain in these first few races may be pivotal as to whether any of these drivers could potentially make it through to the World Final.
It's all about momentum too. You have a good race in the first race, you'll have a good race in the second as well. And it's about going in with that confidence here. And here's someone who's going to try something a little bit spooky around the outside. Nikita Moisov maybe coming into the far chicane. No, has to back it out of it. Taipei in front. This doesn't quite have the speed at the moment in that Citroen. Can't quite get the most out of it. Steve, what do you make of the situation?
Yeah, it looks like Taipei is sort of struggling, although now he's sort of transferred that pressure over to Moisov, who's now on the back foot against Malky. But this sort of phase of the race, we're going to be looking at the guys who have done the best job of managing their tyres, especially, well, we're on the penultimate lap now, so we're going to see, hopefully, some more overtaking now.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, we can see a warning there for Tapai and Malky colliding with another car. Unfortunately, not deeming enough for a penalty there for them. You see Moisov going really wide into the penultimate corner as they come through that final sector there. Now, on to the start of the final lap is Valerio Gallo here. And I think it's really hard to understate just how impressive this performance has been in this race. Though that gap has stayed at 1.6 seconds pretty much for the majority of this race. It's really impressive to just see him managing everything so well.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of a moment at the start of the race where Beauvois was caught up with Serrano, and ever since then the gap's been just exactly the same. These two are the ones to beat here in the EMEA Regional Final, and I don't see it being any different as we go on into race 2 and eventually, of course, the final. So Gallo there just showing that he's very much picking up from where he left off in our superstar races earlier on this year, but this time he's the one in front, and it's pretty much interchangeable, isn't it, between these two? I'm looking forward to seeing how this pans out.
Huge credit as well to Jose Serrano as well, his first event in our finals for the EMEA region, and he's in third position and has sat there for the majority of this race. Had a really quiet one, not really been battling with any drivers behind or in front of him, but has been keeping that gap at a constant and just driving his own race, doing exactly what he needs to do over the course of this one, and he's now only half a lap from home, separating him from third place, which will be a very welcome start to his day's racing here in race 1 of the EMEA region. What a brilliant event it has been so far. Looks like the gap has just increased a little bit between Coque Lopez and Giorgio Manganello, now up to 0.8 of a second, so no threats being made there immediately unless anyone fancies a dive bomb. A bit further back, it's still a bit tasty for 7th position between Connaughton and Tapai there as they sit Connaughton and Kevlem, I should say, rather. They sit 0.6 of a second away, but again, realistically not that close to one another. But just a few more corners now separating Valerio Gallo from a victory on home soil. What an incredible race it has been for the Italian driver. He has managed this one to perfection. Pole position, not quite the fastest lap, that's gone the way of Baptiste Beauvois, but nearly a clean sweep and the perfect start to his weekend in the EMEA Regional Final. Valerio Gallo takes the win in race 1 at Lago Maggiore. Baptiste Beauvois comes home in 2nd position, and Jose Serrano on his debut in the finals takes 3rd place, the final podium spot ahead of Lopez and Mangano completing the top 5. Kevlem, Connaughton, Tapai, Moisov and Mauki completing the top 10. Very close further back there between Maraclino and Blajan for 13th position. Blajan, the driver, getting the better of Maraclino by just 0.009 of a second at the flag. But what a race from Valerio Gallo.
Yeah, one big sigh of relief, I bet, as he crossed the line. Beauvois was starting to catch at the end there, although I think maybe Gallo just got off it a little bit just to sort of relax at the end of the race there. But great victory, and of course Serrano as well, 3rd place, first time out. What a way to start your time at a final.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that there for Jose Serrano. We've never seen him in a World Tour event, and this is the first opportunity, aside from the top 16 superstars, where we've seen him on a global stage. Huge congratulations to him. The point standings, you can see on your screen at the moment, do reflect the results of the first race. So 12 points goes away Valerio Gallo, 10 points to Baptiste Beauvois, 8 points to Jose Serrano, all the way down to 10th position, where the driver Christopher Mauki will collect 1 point.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm really shocked because like the qualifying was so scary, but in the end, let's say for nothing, I was in front, and yeah, a really great race.
I've got to be honest, you looked completely chilled out and like really relaxed. I don't seem like a really casual kind of race for you, but is that actually how it felt when you were driving?
Well, let's say I was pretty much prepared about this race. I trained a lot, so yeah, I mean, also with the car, I had so much confidence, as also it's one of my favorite cars in the game. So yeah, also in the qualifying after my lap, I wasn't so happy because I thought maybe the other guys could overtake me easily. But thankfully, for 20,000 of seconds, like I was in front of 2, and that predicted me my race.
Oh, well, look, big congratulations. Good luck moving forward to the next race. We're going to throw it back to Tom and Jimmy for a few little cheeky replays, I believe.
Well, thanks very much, Julia. Let's take a look, shall we, at some of the best moments from the race of this one. So this is Coque Lopez versus Rick Kevlem on lap 2 here, Jimmy. A little bit of argy-bargy going on into this corner.
Yeah, these guys are sort of stuck together for the entirety of the race. Giorgio Mangano in there as well, trying to find a way by, but couldn't quite get it done. Steve, we sort of touched on why that was earlier on. What was the difference in the end to help Giorgio get through?
It seemed as though he maybe preserved his tyres a little bit better in that Porsche 911, and he just used a bit of brute force aggression just to try to get through. It did take him about half a lap. You see them going side by side here for quite a long time. Really good racing between the two of them, but eventually he just went full on and just went for the move.
Yeah, this is Nikita Moisov versus Adam Tapai a little bit later in the race. This is the closing stage. And you see Moisov pulled alongside as Tapai went defensive into that corner, but it's so much one at a time through there that it was never going to pull off. And this is Valerio Gallo as well. I mean, Steve, what can we say about him? Just a brilliant performance all round.
Pretty much the perfect performance. If you're on pole position, you just want to do every lap perfect, and he did.
Well, there we are. That's exactly what he wanted to do, and exactly what the start that he was expecting as well, I'm sure.
You've got to just want to drive to the line, don't you? Just go and get those points nice and early. So score one for the Italians, but not the only Italian in this race. We've got three of them, the most represented country in the EMEA Regional Finals. Of course, Valerio Gallo, Giorgio Mengele, and Salvatore Marabino. Yeah,
absolutely. You can see the statistics on your screen there now. So 21 top 5 Nations Cup finishes for Valerio Gallo, 38 for Giorgio Mengele, and 45 for Salvatore Marabino. So he's certainly been getting his practice in. In terms of the World Tour races that Gallo has taken part in, it's 16 for Mangano and 20 for Maraclino.
Yeah, I mean, an impressive list of stats for all of them, of course, at this point. But one person we've been paying much attention to is Valerio Gallo, of course, our winner from race 1. And I had the chance earlier on to have a little chat with him about Group 1 cars. We'll be using them later on, so I tried to get a few hints and tips out of him.
I'm coming. Wait.
Yeah, imagine, Valerio, that I'm Baptiste right now. Oh, you are imagining I'm Baptiste. Hello. All right, mate. I see how it is. So, Group 1, of course, we're here at Monza as well, but with no chicane. And it makes arriving there at like 40,000 miles an hour quite scary, right?
Especially the start is gonna be really tricky to like brake.
What mindset do you take in when you're driving a car this quick?
Well, obviously to always memorize the braking points, because since you go at higher speeds than normal, you have to really memorize, like photograph the braking marks.
Yeah,
like the Group C surely is all about power and no downforce, because obviously it's an older car, older chassis.
How am I doing so far?
You didn't brake too late in the corners, because it's very easy to miss the braking point going so fast, so it's pretty fine for me.
So you're saying I'm a pro driver? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean...
I'm going to put you on the spot. Oi, you cheeky boy. You cheeky boy.
Well, sportsmanship, man.
Well, awesome, mate. I mean, I think you've just beaten my time here, which is obviously you were cheating, because I'm a lot quicker than you are. But thank you so much for that, mate. A little bump down the straight, and best of luck in the race.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you.
So then it's time for race 2 here for the EMEA Regional Final. Monza, no chicanes, Group 1 cars for this one, Jimmy. I mean, like that's a tantalising prospect if ever there was one.
Sounds like a great recipe for disaster, but to be honest, no chicane down T1 means you're going to be arriving at the second chicane well over 200 miles an hour. Temple of Speed, Monza. Fairly sure it's going to be earning its name today.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be heading to the Della Roggia in Group 1 cars at that sort of speed. That's, like you say, a recipe for a rather large incident. Hopefully that's not the case for these drivers. Let's take a closer look, though, at the race details for you and have a quick look at the Monza circuit first of all. So the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, as Jimmy alluded to, is known otherwise as the Temple of Speed, has held the Formula 1 Grand Prix there since I think about 1964 or something along the lines of that. 5.7 kilometres long, the no chicane layout. You can see 3 sectors there, variety of straights, some medium speed corners. The first corner effectively is the Curva Grande, the long sweeping right-hander, but the hard braking zone of the Della Roggia is when we should see some moves being made, likewise into Ascari and into the final corner of the Parabolica. You can see the drop down of 13.5 metres down to the Parabolica, and then you come climbing up the hill as well as you go through in towards that first corner. So then, race 2 at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza, no chicane. Group 1 cars on the Racing Hard tyres. 10 laps for these drivers here. Jimmy, we shouldn't expect tyre wear to be too much of an issue, and slipstreaming should make overtaking a very possible prospect.
Yeah, the big thing around here will be the slipstream, as you said, Tom. Massive straight lines from T9, the Parabolica, all the way up to T2. That's all flat out. So if you're behind someone in the tow, very good chance you'll be able to get by. And you shouldn't have to use too much tyre wear, anything like that. No big braking lunges. So should be a really fun prospect. And again, bear in mind, we're in the Group 1 class. lots of different types of cars and different areas, different strengths, different weaknesses. So it should be quite exciting, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's not the first time we've actually raced at this layout as well, the Autodromo Nazionale in Monza with no chicane. We're actually there back in our World Tour in 2018, believe it or not. Let's take a closer look at that then, shall we? Because, well, if it's anything like that was, this should be a good one.
So I've done some digging. Let's have a look at some clips to see what we might be able to expect from this race. First thing, the first big braking zone on the circuit now, the Della Roggia chicane. You can see here, as always, it's going to cause some carnage. Coque Lopez found that out to his demise, you can see on this occasion. So watch out for that first lap, Della Roggia chicane, big braking zone, big carnage zone, much potential for crashes. And then we have the very big mismatch between Group 1 cars and Group C cars. You can see here, Mick Hazal, the 2019 Nations Cup champion, in a Group C car going flying past the LMP1 car as if it doesn't exist. Look out for that, as they're going to be sort of chopping and changing, flying past each other very, very often. And then, of course, we'll mention it again because it's going to be quite a pinch point. The Della Roggia chicane. You can see here Igor Fraga, the 2018 Nations Cup champion. Even he made a mistake here by braking a little bit too late. Very easy to do. Very big braking zone, especially with slipstream as well. These are very fast cars. So watch out for that. They could definitely overcook it slightly, make a mistake. And again, that chicane, very tricky overall, especially with the track limits as well.
That's some great information from Steve there. He went like fully into details. All I heard was the word, this is going to be like spicier, over and over again in my head. I think we just want to zhuzh things up for the next one. So in terms of drivers and ones to watch, of course, there is Valerio Gallo, who is sitting out in front. And from everything that he's just said from our conversation after that race, he seems like he's in an incredibly good headspace. Then, of course, Baptiste Beauvois as well, obviously still kind of nipping at the heels there. Let's see if he can kind of push through, get a little bit ahead. And then, of course, another one to watch, obviously, Jose Serrano from Spain, came third in the last race. Certainly piqued Tom and Jimmy's interest as well. What do you reckon, guys?
Yeah, I think Jose Serrano is in with a top shout there, to be honest with you, Julie. I mean, if his form is anything like we saw in that first race, race 2 is set to be a tantalising prospect for the young Spaniard.
He looks so chilled out, doesn't he? I mean, if it were me, I'd be sitting there just a sweaty mess, but he looks so chilled, and that's exactly what you need. You to come in and make a big impression straight away, and it's exactly what he's done.
So let's take a look, shall we then, without further ado, and have a look and see what happened during qualifying for these drivers. Because as we know, Super Pole format, unlike what we've had in previous events as well, they have to qualify for each race individually. So again, we know that that can be a really important factor.
No, I think I kind of prefer that, actually. It gives you sort of another chance. Maybe you had a bad race in race 1. It gives you time to sort of dust yourself off and get back out there.
Over the timing line comes Baptiste Beauvois. The one and only lap he will have in this qualifying session is a 1 minute 23.622. That's not bad at all, but it's immediately bettered by the man on home soil, Valerio Gallo, a 1:23.3. So is that going to be second best there for Baptiste Beauvois? It certainly will be for Valerio Gallo, but let's see if anybody else is going to be able to improve in time.
And you'll see the difference in downforce through this little Ascari now. On board, heavy on the brakes, chuck the car on the left, sticks now 100 mile an hour on the apex there, and full throttle all the way through, absolutely just stuck to the floor. What a lovely machine.
So he's managed to claw some time back. Over the timing line comes Jose Serrano, and it is a brilliant last couple of sectors for the Spaniard. A 1:23.6 puts him second best, and crucially splits Gallo and Beauvois on the grid. Kevelam comes over the timing line. He goes into P8 at best. Here's Christopher Malky, the Swede, and he goes into P7 with a 1:24.1.
Adam Teswilla overtaking the line of this didn't really help much though. Only P9 for Adam. What can Martin do? Will we come down then to the straight, and it's 5th place there. A really great time there. Didn't expect that from Cedric. A 1:23.7.
Salvatore Mariclino comes over the line. He only goes into P9, so work to do for him then under race conditions. Valerio Gallo was the man who qualified on pole position once again, as I said earlier on in qualifying, pulling the rabbit out of the hat. I don't know how he seems to do it.
Wasn't even by a little bit either, 0.3 of a second. And you might think, well, that's not much time, but round this circuit, where a lot of it is just full throttle, That's super impressive to have that sort of gap, but mainly between him and Beauvois, Serrano managed to sneak into second place there. Another really strong result.
Yeah, I just don't know how he seems to do it.
We'll talk about Martin Swiderick as well, managed to sneak into the top 6. Really, I think this is the point where he needs to turn his race around, his weekend around. If he can get this race as well as he's done his qualifying, then I think maybe he'll be in a chance of a good position in the final.
There we are, that's qualifying over and done with. Let's get ready, shall we, and go racing. Tension is in the air ahead of race 2 for the EMEA Regional Final. The Autodromo Nazionale Monza hosts this race. You can see Valerio Gallo qualifies on pole position in the Peugeot 908. Alongside him on the front row of the grid is Jose Serrano, the Spaniard in the Audi R18. Second row, Baptiste Beauvois, the Frenchman in the Sauber Mercedes C9. And alongside him on that second row, Adam Tapai in the very high-pitched rotary Mazda 787B. Martin Swiderick is next up on the grid in the McLaren VGT. Alongside him is Nikita Moisov in the Toyota TS030 Hybrid. Coque Lopez lines up P7 in the Jag XJ9. Not a bad qualifying there for him at the end of that one. Ahead of Giorgio Mangano in the Nissan R92. Completing the top 10 is Christopher Mauki in the Alpine VGT, the Swede. And alongside him is Patrick Blajan, just sneaking into the top 10 there in the older version of the Audi R18. Mariclino on home soil in the Peugeot is in 11th. Alongside him is Marcus Condon in the Dodge SRT Tomahawk. Towards the back of the grid, work to do once more for Adam Taswillo in the Mazda LM55 Vision Gran Turismo car with Rick Kevlin. Again, another driver needs to pull it out of the bag in this one. Let's see whether he can in the Hyundai with Manuel Rodriguez in the Porsche 962 and Carlos Salazar, the Portuguese driver, completing our 16 drivers ahead of this second race. So only one tyre compound as we have with race 1 here, Jimmy. 10 laps though. What are the drivers going to be thinking going through that Curva Grande and heading into the Della Roggia?
It has to just be hyper-aware this time because there's going to be cars of all differing speeds at that point of the race, especially, I know we've said a lot about him already, but watch out for Jose Serrano in that R18 hybrid. He has what the top 5 cars apart from him do not have, which is a big button, a big go fast button at the start of the race. So he'll shoot off as soon as the green flag drops, but of course run out of puff as we get down towards the chicane. So he should get past Gallo pretty much straight away, but might not be able to keep that position down there. Keep an eye on it.
Let's see what he can do then. The drivers coming through the final corner. A rolling start for them here ahead of race 2 for the EMEA Regional Final. Gallo, of course, victorious last time around. 12 points on the board for him here so far. Can he convert that into 24 in 10 laps time? Or will the likes of Serrano, Beauvois and Tapai upset the apple cart? Race 2 for the EMEA Regional Final at Monza is underway. Then Gallo leads the field over the line, but look at Serrano, look at the charge on that Audi R18, already into the lead before they come over the line. Absolutely fantastic there for the Spaniard, and now Gallo's going to have to watch his mirrors again because Beauvois is on the attack as well as Tapai, Swiderick and Moisov coming through Curva Grande, and look at the gaggle of cars in the background as they come through the right-hander. Absolutely brilliant racing, but who is going to brake latest? Who's going to be Dan Dare on the brakes? Tapai is going to go down the inside, or at least try to, of Beauvois, but Beauvois holding his line through there. Bit squiggly on the exit as well for Gallo coming out of the Della Roggia, but Serrano leads the way.
Tell you what, Gallo did really well there to only lose 1 place to Serrano. That's Sauber behind, incredibly fast down the straight, as is this car, piloted by Martin Swiderick, up into 5th place in the 6th with Adam Tapai in front of that glorious 787B, splitting flames as it changes gear now as we go underneath the old oval up towards Ascari. This is where this car's going to be better than the car in front. Harden the brakes, chuck it to the left, don't use too much of the curve on the inside or it just launches off to the right into the gravel. This is where you don't want to be. Coque Lopez there in the XDR9 Jaguar behind, looking up into the slipstream. He'll have the tow and the grunts to get by coming down to the Parabolica, but won't quite have the same braking capability as the McLaren VGT, but it doesn't matter, he's already passed, and his Group C cars going crazy in the background there. I think that was Mangano, yet going wide there in the Nissan, just getting a little bit of help, I think, off the Parabolica, and that's not going to be great for the start of his race.
Something's gone Pete Tong as well for Christopher Mauki. He's down in 16th position at the top as well. You can see the Valerio Gallo versus Jose Serrano is about to change hands. Here we go, side by side, and Gallo takes the lead back then from Jose Serrano. So it's the Italian ahead of the Spaniard as we start lap number 2. That could be a very recurring theme as we come over the course of this race, but certainly some stuff to analyse on that opening lap for Steve. We'll cut to him, I'm sure, a little bit later on. But here is Coque Lopez putting all sorts of pressure on the back of Adam Tapai as they come through into the Della Roggia chicane. It's all getting a bit messy, a bit further back. So busy it is going through there, and it's easy to get interlocked in these battles with other drivers. And before you know it, the one who's in front of you two, as you're squabbling, is cleared off into the distance.
I'll tell you what Gallo wants to say to Serrano right now. Too soon, Julian. And again, here he comes back again. And see, this is the difference. You see, out of the corner, the Audi really, really quick, and then just hits a wall. Because you lose 400 horsepower when that charge it goes, when it's gone. No more hybrid fun times. So you end up just slowing down, and then the car in front, this Gallo in the 908 diesel, just has the same grunt all the way down the straight. So again, corner exits when you want to watch out for the Audi. And if you're in the Audi, corner entries when you want to check your mirrors and make sure no one's going to dive up the inside. Baptiste Beauvois, though, starting to fall off a little bit, now 1.2 seconds behind Serrano.
Yeah, he's not setting representative to lap times even remotely close to the front, the guys in front. He was about half a second or so off last time around. Meanwhile, here is Marcin Swideric onto the back of Salvatore Mariclino, who's moving up the inside of Nikita Moisov. Then here comes Swideric, and Moisov is a sitting duck in that Toyota on the straight. Swideric's going to have them both here coming into the curve of Grande. He's going to try and go the long way around the outside. That's brave. How's he going to make it stick though? Side by side they go. Swideric has got an amazing amount of momentum, and he's through into 6th place there. Brilliant from the pole.
So you've got to do it around here, you've got to time it right. He knows his car is quick in a straight line. He knows in the toe that it's going to be very quick into corner entry. So just timing that right, getting the move done so no one can respond. Perfect stuff there from Swideric. Now, let's go back to Serrano. You can see again, corner exit. Very slow, very fast, compared to this Mercedes. Baptiste Beauvois on board now. The Beauvois hitting 200 miles an hour before braking for his car. That's crazy speed in a car from 1989. And having this on-board shot now, I'll hopefully try and illustrate more about that difference.
I love that old-school dashboard as well with that car. So let's see what is going to happen then. So Baptiste Beauvois, we ride on board with him in 3rd position. Jose Serrano not too far in front, but Gallo is trying to clear off into the distance. He was fastest last time around by a significant margin.
Well, I'd be great to hear from Steve at some point about what he thinks about this. Steve, are you down there, mate?
I am still here. Haven't run away just yet.
It's still there.
But yeah, I'm just looking through some of the replays of some of the guys at the start. There's been a lot of change. Obviously, at the front, top 4 positions have remained fairly static. But
oh, Steve, sorry, mate, going to cut you off there because Baptiste Beauvois has just gone past Jose Serrano there, using the grunt, the V8 in the back of that Mercedes, and past the Audi R18, which now just seems to be going backwards.
Yeah, that is the case there for Jose Serrano, and again a bit sideways on the exit of the Della Roggia. He's going to have to keep an eye on his mirrors because Adam Tapai is ready to pounce as well. Here's Mangano with his fellow Italian Salvatore Mariclino on his back bumper, then coming through the second of the Lesmos and down into the Ascari chicane. Riding on board here with Mariclino. He's got the advantage of the slipstream there. He's got a newer car, so let's see whether that is going to have a bit more straight line speed into the the old bit of banking we go, and into the Ascari chicane. Has a bit of a lift there before they come into the braking section. So Mariclino maybe just biding his time at the moment, not opting to find his way through against Mangano as it stands, but coming on to the back straight, and as they head in towards the Parabolica, one wonders how long it will be. It's surely a case of when and not if he finds his way through.
You know what, there's a little bit of bias for me, that Mazda 787. I love that car. I love watching it go around in the very recognisable green and orange renowned livery. You can see it just about in our background there. Look in the mirror there, the top half of your screen. Look at that. That's the Mazda. Here it comes down in the straight line. It's got that straight line speed up the inside. Goes the rotary monster through Curva Grande, and now goes in chase of Baptiste Beauvois in the C9 Mercedes, and all Jose Serrano can do is sit and watch it happen.
I love Gran Turismo. Where else would you see a 90s Group C car squabbling with a modern LMP1 hybrid machine? Just fantastic, isn't it? So coming into the Lesmos we go. Now Adam Tapai is the man on the move, really seems to be getting his act together in this second half of the race. Qualified very strongly, let's not forget as well. So maybe these Group C cars are suiting him a bit more perhaps than the Group 3 cars. But on the corner exit, that's where you said to watch the Audi R18, Jimmy, and that is exactly where Jose Serrano has got the advantage on the exit. But look at the second half of the straight, that Mazda just pulls back.
But nope, that ain't happening, mate. I'll take that, thank you very much. Steve, mate, I think we've got a bit of time now, so I'd like to quiz you a little bit. I'm sure you've been in this position before. What do you do with your Jose Serrano? Because you've got the grunt coming out of a corner, but you can't do anything at the end of the straight. Oh, well, it seems that we don't have Steve this time. Maybe we can grab him back in a little bit later on. But yeah, Serrano, I think at the moment, I mean, what can you do apart from just sit there and wait? You get this great burst out the corner, but then down the straight, all you can do is just sit and wait, unfortunately. As that's just the way it is to drive one of these hybrid LMP1 machines.
Such is the way it goes then. So Jose Serrano then now on the back foot. He's got Coque Lopez closing up onto the back of him. Coque, of course, in that Jaguar XJR9 and slides to the inside to the curve at Gran. It's like he's standing still, isn't it? It's like watching LMP1 versus LMP2.
It must be so frustrating if you're Serrano, because all these Group C cars just come flying by in a straight line. And whilst they aren't slow in a straight line, these modern cars, it's nothing compared to these old cars. So here's our live point ranking right now. If things were to stay the way they were, Gallo would still be leading from 4 points from Beauvois, extending that lead, and Serrano would still be in 3rd place. But of course, double points for the last round, so those are definitely not set in stone. Things can still change.
Yeah, so Valerio Gallo would have been a perfect start to his days of racing. Here is Jose Serrano with a great corner exit, but no speed to use it in the second half of that straight as they come under into Ascari once more. So Serrano, you can see they're getting on the power. This is where he should close up in theory, but he might have used up all that hybrid energy actually over the first half of the lap. He's got the advantage of the slipstream, but just doesn't have the straight line speed, and he just pulls away. That must be so demoralising.
Like another gear, isn't it? All right. See you later, we're off. But again, this is Monza as well, that draft as well. You see the difference in corners between the downforce right onto the back of the XJR9. That's about as much as he can do right now. So Serrano will just be thinking damage limitation at this point, because behind him right now is Giorgio Mangano, who's recovering after an earlier incident in 6th position. And now he's trying to get onto the back of Serrano in his Group C machine.
Sadly, the race has not gone the way of the rookies so far. Nikita Moisov and Marcin Swideric down 3 and 5 positions respectively, sitting in 9th and 10th place. So their good qualifying sadly has come to naught so far in this race. Still just under 3 laps now remaining. Here is Blajan versus Moisov, the Czech driver attacking the Hungarian as they come through that Della Roggia on the corner exit. That is where he's beginning to close up. No hybrid, of course, in the older Audi R18 that Blajan is in. So these two very similar in terms of the pace that they would produce. And coming through the second Lesmo is where he might be able to get a good run. He's got great momentum coming through there as Moisov ran a little bit onto the AstroTurf, and I wonder whether that's cost him a bit of drive. Of course, he's got a counter in the slipstream that Blajan has in front from Salvatore Mariclino as well.
Serrano actually now at the moment just sort of using Lopez to help pull him along a little bit. He needs that draft to be anywhere near. You see, there's no point pulling out at this point because you just end up losing speed down the straight. But it's great to see all these Group C cars in the front. Sorry, I'm sort of fanboying a bit here because these are one of my favourite generations of race cars. Seeing them go toe-to-toe with one of my other favourite race cars. It's like Christmas to me here.
Look at that on the exit there for Jose Serrano pulling alongside Coque Lopez, but it's all over and done with by the time they get onto the straight. Just to remind you, of course, it is 12 points for the race winner, 10 points for second and 8 points for third position. That runs all the way down into 10th place. You can see there the live points rankings on your screen. Valerio Gallo would have 24 if it sits as it is. Baptiste Beauvois in second place with 20. He's been second best in both of those races. Then you'd have Coque Lopez and Jose Serrano, the two Spaniards, on 14 points apiece, with Adam Depay bringing up 5th position. Just to remind you, of course, the grand final, the last race we have here in the EMEA region, is double points as well. So that could throw a cat amongst the pigeons here.
Stop throwing that cat on the pigeons, man.
Certainly has.
Very cruel.
All right, phone the RSPCA or whatever you want to do then.
They're on the way here already, man. Don't worry about it. So, here's the view now from Maraglino, the bumper cam. That rather imposing rear wing belongs to the Nissan. Giorgio Mangano in front against spits of flame as you upshift there. There with the engine cut as we come up now under the banking. And it's the same sort of story that this Nissan super fast at the end of the straight. So Maraglino, although he does initially gain, just can't quite get the run to make a move. And at the moment, these guys are actually falling back from Serrano. So Serrano's probably safe now, just sort of following Coque Lopez around. I would really like to see what happened to Giorgio Mangano at the start of the race.
Yeah, I would too. It's something's clearly not gone his way. Likewise, Chris Mauki also had some problems. Just having a look at the driving position there of Mariclino as well. I mean, he's really sat on the wheel. It's like watching a granny in Florida driving to the shops, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's put the seat forward about as far as it would go. I think he's a man that also suffers with short leg syndrome like me.
So, you know when you're sitting in your car and you're thinking, come on, go faster, go faster. Is that what he's trying to do? Just edge it on to go a bit quicker in the straight?
I think maybe. I mean, especially if you're someone like who's in Serrano's position right now, where what you can do is sit there and wait, basically. But that's that. This is now.
Where'd you get that line from?
I always wanted to say that. Here is Serrano. See, I mean, I know it's been a bit of a focus in this race, but he's just sort of gone backwards, but I think he's made the best of it in that car. Maybe waiting for his moment to pounce with Coque Lopez. He knows he can't really get by and put away, so maybe we'll try and just sneak by on the last lap and just clinch a few more points. All points count here, all very important. I say that. Serrano has actually gone past Lopez temporarily down the straight, but no worries. Lopez is back by again.
Salvatore Maraclino was all over the rear wing of Giorgio Mangano coming down that straight. Don't think he was able to find a way past, but let's see whether he is going to be able to. Here is Serrano then, still on the back of his compatriot of Coque Lopez. Down the back straight we go as we head in towards the Parabolica then. So we're ready to start the final lap here. This race is absolutely flown by, and Serrano is going to be running out of opportunities to try and get some damage limitation. If it finishes as it is, these two will be tied on points, but the corner exit is where the Audi R18 is strong, but not strong enough to overhaul the charge of that V12 from the Jaguar.
Something we haven't spoken about too much, of course, is tyre wear in this race. We're on the last lap now. These Group C machines, they are rear-wheel drive, and all that power is going through the rear tyres, whereas Serrano in the four-wheel drive Audi has a little bit of an advantage there in terms of acceleration and cornering grip. So this we might be seeing now those Group C cars just starting to struggle as we get to the end of this 10-lap race here at Monza. Someone, though, who hasn't struggled at all during this race is Valerio Gallo. Had one moment at the start of the race where he was overtaken by Jose Serrano, this man, but then pulled back by in his 908 Peugeot and just basically drove away into the distance. There he is now, 4 seconds ahead of Baptiste Beauvois, his main rival.
Absolutely incredible. Serrano's now ahead of Coque Lopez for 4th position on the final lap then, so this is going to change things in the points rankings as we come into the grand final. That's double points, but we've got to focus on this man here of Valerio Gallo. So, let's see what's going to happen here. Lopez now back ahead of Serrano, but this is the corner exit where that Audi's going to close up, but it's going to be, I think, a little bit too little too late for Jose Serrano to try and find his way past, unless he sends it down the inside at the Parabolica and just prays for dear life that he can hold on in the final couple of metres. So here is Valerio Gallo. It's 2 from 2 for the Italian driver. He wins race 2 at Monza. Baptiste Beauvois comes home second, and Adam Tapai, a well-deserved podium in 3rd position. 4th place for Coque Lopez means he's tied on points at the end of race 2 with Jose Serrano in 5th position ahead of Mangano, Mariglino. Then comes Moitov, Blajan and Sassuolo sneaking into the top 10 at the end of that one. What a brilliant race there for all of our drivers, and what a great demonstration once more of his skill for Valerio Gallo. Absolutely phenomenal.
The great race at Monza, I mean, it was always going to be with that spread of Group 1 cars. What can we say? Something we might have missed right at the end. Hopefully we can chat about that in a second. It's Mariglino and Mangano finished just 300ths apart at the end there. So a proper sprint to the line, but of course, man that stole the show, again, Valerio Gallo.
Yeah, I don't know how he seems to do it. Just week in, week out, he is just imperious at the moment, isn't he? Steve, what did you make of that race? I mean, there was just some brilliant racing from start to finish, up and down the order, wasn't there, really? We really enjoyed that one. What were the highlights for you?
Well, really just the sheer amount of overtaking that was going on, as I sort of alluded to in the intro, because of course the Group 1 cars are so varied, there's always going to be so much opportunity to go past each other. But yeah, the highlight for me, Gallo at the front, again, with another perfect performance. He didn't really put a foot wrong at all.
It really was great to see that dominance out there. And when I was talking to him earlier on, of course, with the feature we had earlier on in the 908, he said, well, this is my car, I've been practicing in it, I know all about it. And you could really just see that. He was chatting away and just making me look stupid. Well, that's not really very hard, is it?
Quite.
Thinking about that.
No, that is very true, actually, as well. So what about the difference in the performance between the Group C machines and the LMP1s? Because we saw that the likes of the Audi R18, the modern one, that it was just so much better on corner exit, but just going into the straights, it just was just a sitting duck, wasn't it? Serrano just moved backwards.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to sort of talk to Steve about that a little bit. I mean, how do you even defend in that situation? You're Serrano, you've got a Group C car going, boom. What do you do?
You almost have to accept it. You have to make a decision quite early. Am I going to defend it and waste my own time, or am I just going to let him go past? And I think ultimately he sort of decided. I could see the LMP1 cars were struggling in that race, and I think they decided, okay, there's not much I can do. I'm just going to have to race my own race.
The point standings as it sits after race 2, Valerio Gallo on 24 points. Not a bad race at all there for the Italian driver. Baptiste Beauvois, though, just 4 points adrift ahead of the double points grand final. Serrano and Lopez tied for 3rd position, 14 points apiece for the Spaniards ahead of the Italian of Giorgio Mangano and Adam Tapai. Both also tied on points for 5th position in the standings on 11 each. Then Rick Kevlam and Nikita Moisov doing exactly the same thing. So this is going to be an exciting last one.
Well, definitely. Of course, a little reminder for you guys, top 8 go through to the World Finals. And right now, Gallo, Beauvois, Serrano and Lopez looking like the ones probably in contention for victory here today.
Who are the danger men? Who are the drivers who've really got to be keeping themselves on their toes for this last one?
Well, the thing is, if I was Gallo, I'd be just looking out for Beauvois because he's the person who can upset this for us. If he gets by and wins the last race, they'll be, I think, tied on points if my maths is correct. Probably isn't. But definitely one to watch, especially if he gets into a little bit of a fight, maybe there's a bit of contact. You just want a clean race if you're Gallo right now.
So much going on in race 2, it was really difficult to keep up with it all. So we're going to look back at some of the more exciting moments that we might have missed and give a quick analysis on those. So starting off here, let's start with the start, shall we? This is Jose Serrano starting second. But you can see here the LMP hybrid power at the very beginning. It was absolutely ridiculous how much speed that thing has. You see him just go flying straight into the lead instantly. And Gallo having no reply. This is Swedish driver Malky with a mistake into the Ascari chicane. Very easy to do. Look how much time he loses. About 5 seconds, which is about a year in motorsport. Magano meeting a similar fate here by going a little bit wide on the entry into the parabolic at the final corner. But then he began his fight back here against Sasuelo, you can see. And look how far back he starts from. About more than 10 car lengths. And eventually gets onto the back of him. And he's going to pull the move into the new first chicane, the Della Rogers chicane. So he began his fight back, and Magano back on the path to recovery. So this was Polish driver Martin Swiderek. He actually qualified really well, qualified 5th place, which you could say he might have out-qualified himself, because then later in the race he began to get a little bit bullied, I must say. You see, again, run wide by Moisov, and that's where his decline began. He started 5th, ended up 11th. And then we have Serrano. We saw him at the start. Started really well, but then he kind of ran out of juice. And this is his attempted fight back on Coque Lopez on lap 10 of 10. It was actually a really good fight here, a classic battle of LMP against Group C power. So you can see here the LMP going through, but then eventually running out of gas as Lopez then just easily goes back past him. So a really good fight there between the two of them on the final lap. So that was a quick look at that race. A really, really interesting race, and I thought it would be. Group 1 around that circuit. There was such a mix of cars, and it made for some really exciting overtakes throughout the entirety of the race.
Now, we've got something very cool coming up now, and it's something that we've not really ever had the opportunity to do before. Now, you might know I do a little bit of racing at home, and so does our analyst, Steve Brown, Super GT. So we thought, why not settle things once and for all? 1v1. Let's see who comes out on top. It is the Gran Turismo Regional Final, World Final, Jimmy and Steve, 1-on-1 series. I think that's all right.
I think that's a good ring to it, actually, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. So we're going to be racing at Spa in the Red Bull X2019, which is coming up in the first regional final in the EMEA.
So this is the first time we've actually raced each other ever, like 1v1. So obviously I have to win. Otherwise my career's over. It's the same for Steve as well. But the main point of this, really for us, is to sort of try and get a taste of what the real finals are going to be like with the fast drivers. What sort of moves we can expect from them.
No jump in the start, right?
All about that. How do you start these cars? Okay, easy.
Yeah, these cars are very tricky off the line.
Oh, look at the start! Look at the start! You'd love to see that. So the source for the first time. I know Steve's there on the inside. Oh, he's driven me out wide. He's driven me out. But
you want to be there, don't you?
Yeah, that's Steve's first mistake, because now I get the slipstream all the way up till they come. So here we are, through a route. I'm going to just make sure I'm far enough back here so I get a nice big draft, and then, oh, look at this. You'll love to see this. You'll love to see this. Goodbye, mate. I'll see you later. On the way through.
No! Don't do it. I'm still going to outbrake you.
I'm quite scared for that. Oh, I braked so late. There he is.
Oh, mate.
Absolutely embarrassing. We'll just drive you out to the outside of the circuit and we're through. So that's really important, because now I'm ahead going into the middle sector, and dirty air in this thing is massive.
Yes, I'm about to find out just how horrific that is. Through these, oh my God, I almost lost it there. This one's a tricky exit. And then this corner coming up, Puon's going to be really difficult in the dirty air.
I'm not sure how fast I can take this. I think.
Just brake. Just go down to first gear, I'd say.
You got the behind. There he is.
All over the grass.
Yeah, mate.
I'm not sure that's the line.
I reckon it could be. I'm actually like concentrating a bit too hard for this. I can't lose to Steve. I will never hear the end of it.
I can't lose to Jimmy. Oh my god, I almost pinned it.
In you go. Steve, don't you play this game? Like,
No, never heard of it.
Okay, now this is where I'm in danger because now Steve's got the toe all the way up towards Blanchimont. What am I going to do here?
I don't know if I want to be ahead. I don't know where I need to be ahead. This is the tactical thing about this track.
So like, I'm going to just be annoying now. I'm going to be annoying.
What are you going to do?
It is. Right in the middle of the circuit. Oh, I don't know where he is. Oh no, I've ruined that. Oh no. Okay, one lap down, but now I'm in the bad place.
You can stay there.
Yeah. Oh no, Steve, I've gone wide, mate.
Oh, so have I.
Go.
What a coincidence, I just made the same mistake as you.
I mean, the thing is, it'll be a little bit more subtle with our guys later on.
Yeah, we're definitely not as good as the finalists, let's put it that way.
Where's he going? Where's he going?
Oh, where are you? Oh, that was an early lift. And come back for a reply, are you? Okay.
Gonna give it a go. Oh, look at this!
Very
look at this!
Come on! Is it Rosberg Hamilton? I was going to see you in the sand then.
This is just me shrieking this entire video. So now it's my turn to suffer in the dirty air.
The filthy air. Oh my god.
This guy's slow, man.
These cars are actually very tricky to drive.
They make them look a lot easier, don't they,
Oh,
when they drive these things?
Yeah.
I'm really having trouble. Oh, absolutely sending it through the middle there.
Where is he?
Just tactically falling back a little bit, just tactically.
Tactical,
you know?
yeah.
Nothing to do with my pace being terrible. Not this guy.
Unrelated.
Oh, he's putting away now.
We've only got one sector to go.
Oh no, oh no, oh no.
Need that slipstream, mate, up the hill. Into
gentlemen will wait, gentlemen will wait, I think, for this.
Well, that's not me, I'm afraid.
Okay, I've got 8 tenths.
I've got to get a good start in the series,
Come on. Come on.
Oh, see you later, mate.
No, he's running away.
You're going to have to go for the almighty dive bomb.
I mean, if you're inviting it, it's just coming. Going to do my best Baptiste Beauvois impression. Oh no!
I'm watching the radar.
Not even I could do that. Oh no!
Yes, come on.
That was my best chance as well.
1-0.
So then, we are about ready for the grand final for the EMEA Regional Online Final. It is going to be hugely exciting, this one, Jimmy Broadbent. Spa-Francorchamps, Red Bull X2019s. We've seen before that can be an explosive combination. I think we should be expecting a bit more of the same with so much up for grabs.
It's classic, isn't it? We've seen how important the toe is in races beforehand. Exactly the same in this Red Bull X2019. Big run from the source up to Lake Com. That's where overtaking, I think, we're going to see most of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a closer look, shall we, at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps then. So a track really that needs no introduction. It's got about 20 adventures per lap over the course of this one. You can see infamous corners including Blanchimont, Eau Rouge and Radion, Les Combes, Malmedy, Rivage, Pouhon. Circuit corners that you'll all be familiar with, I am sure, and the elevation change is certainly something to behold as well. You can see right at the very top of the circuit, all the way down to the very bottom, 104 metres long, so it is. Look forward to seeing how these drivers will fare over the course of this one, especially in such high downforce machinery. You can see the circuit details, the race details on your screen now at the moment. And interestingly, for the first time today here, Jimmy, we have 3 tyre compounds available for the drivers at 20 laps. They're going to have to use all 3 of these and presumably make 3 or potentially even more stops than that.
Yeah, longer race this one. Of course, there's 2 sprints before. This is the Enduro, so to speak. 6 times tyre wear as well with a rolling start. So with all tyres being used once, you will see a different plethora of strategies we always tend to see in these things. So they'll be practice in both areas there, basically. So I think element of trying to get your lap time down, also trying to work out all the tricky strategy bits.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, what do you reckon for strategy and indeed for this grand final? What's your take on it?
Yeah, so for today, race 3, the first race with actual strategy. And you might be wondering why you're seeing only one lap on the hard tyre. You're not seeing much green on that graphic there. So that's probably going to be the likely strategy, one lap at the end or one lap at the start on the hard tyre. And then you can see there an even split between the soft and the medium throughout the race.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed there, Steve. So we're about ready then for qualifying to get underway here. Of course, a similar format to what we've seen. As we know, everyone's had to qualify for each race individually, unlike when we've had previous events where they just go from based on the grid results. So this could be hugely important, this part of the event, because, of course, the top 8 from the 16 competitors will go through to our world final. So what do you reckon for this one? How are they going to be channeling this and processing it going into it?
You know, I think from what we've learned earlier, we've seen a couple of practices before. I think that you want to be starting second, don't you? Not first. You get that toe all the way up the hill. So anywhere towards front of the grid, good. Otherwise, don't get mixed up in the pack. Otherwise, you're going to just lose time.
Well, there we are. Let's get ready then, shall we? And see what happens in qualifying. Baptiste Beauvois exits the pit lane then ahead of qualifying for the grand final. The Frenchman then, with it all to do, sitting second in the standings as we know, and of course double points for this grand final are going to make things very interesting indeed up to the top of the hill through Eau Rouge and Radillon, and of course very limited window of opportunity for these drivers to set their lap times as well. So it's all to do around this, and it's not a short lap, so it's prone for drivers to make mistakes.
It is, and the most important sector I think around here is that middle sector, especially in these cars. These X2019, I mean, you're likely familiar with them by now if you're a fan of our GT Sports broadcast. I very much hope you are, of course. And these things, all about downforce, all about cornering speed and braking capability, which means this middle sector, which is pretty much that summed up, is all the more important. Down the straight, it's usually just a matter of put your foot down and aim it in the right direction, but through here, it's very much a challenge for the drivers. Here's Valerio Gallo, our current leader on points at the moment. Again, a reminder, the top 8 drivers in the points at the end of this race will go through to our world finals. Everybody else, try again next time. Here is Coque Lopez, someone who has been at pretty much every event ever. I've never seen him not be at one. But just never quite where he wants to be, never quite on that top step. Usually not even the second or third step either.
No, well, aside from the world final last year, of course, let's not forget where he was actually very strong behind the wheel of these Red Bull X2019. So maybe that'll give him some confidence going into this grand final. Needs a bit of a turnaround, of course, battling with Jose Serrano in the standings. Here is Giorgio Mangano, a driver who's had, I think by his standards, I'd say an off day really more than anything. He's not been close to the fight at the front. He's not really sort of been anywhere. He's been a little bit anonymous over the course of this one, fighting in the lower half of the top 10.
It happens sometimes. Sometimes you just don't quite get the momentum. You don't quite have. It's hard to explain. Once you're out there and you're convinced that you can go quick, you tend to go quick. As soon as you have your confidence knocked in some way, it can really affect you negatively. It can really disturb your attitude, as I'm sure anyone out there who does any racing will know. So here's a driver's eye view then on the way through Rouge and Radillon. You can see in this car it's just flat out, easy, no worries. But the next bit is the important bit. So Baptiste Beauvois on board with the Frenchman. What can he do? He has to win this race to win the European regional final and become European champion, as of course many greats have before him, including Mikhail Hazel, as we now come through this sector now. A bit wide on the curve there, might have slowed him down a little bit through to Rivage, trying to hug the inside line, and then let the car drift out late in the corner. Now through to X, again use the downforce through here. You've got to be careful on that inside curve though, very easy to cut the track there, and if you do that, you do invalidate your lap time. Now Pouon, a little bit of a lift and a turn in these cars, right on the edge there, the car being pushed to the floor by the air, rushing over all the wings and winglets as we come in now to the pit path of the Fagnes chicane. Third gear, fourth gear corner through here. Just let it go through, nice and easy. Now into Stavelot and Stavelot 1 and Stavelot 2. A little bit easy there, going through the right-hander. Maybe a little bit too pedestrian. Didn't quite use the track as well on the exit at the moment. And now we go up towards Blanchimont, a flat-out left-hander. And we get a right proper view here on board with Baptiste Beauvois. Chuck the car in, I say chuck it in. Minute, minimal adjustment of the wheels, try and lose scrubbing speed as possible. And now we go into the bus stop chicane. And what sort of time will we see here from Baptiste Beauvois? He's going to set our first time sideways coming out of the last corner on a mid-54 for a good time. He does even better than that, a low 1:53.2.
So then, here is Valerio Gallo over the timing line, a 1 minute 53.5 work for him to do. Coque Lopez there in third position at the moment. And where is he going to sit as he comes over the line? He splits Beauvois and Gallo. Jose Serrano is also looking pretty handy here as well, very fast in the first sector. Let's see whether he can turn that into a promising result come the checkered flag. Mangano goes third quickest, so Gallo's lap was not hot at all, and he is plummeting down the order. What about Adam Tapai, a man who was on the podium, of course, in race 2? Over the timeline comes the Hungarian. He goes fourth quickest, demoting Valerio Gallo down to fifth. So this is a disaster for the Italian so far.
Very much so. Here's Jose Serrano, only a 10th down in the middle sector. This could be a nice time for him if he's neat and tidy at the bus stop. Goes across the line, goes second fastest, just behind Baptiste Beauvois. Very small gap there between him and the pole sitter. Rick Kevlin quick in his day as well, showing that he can be quick here, up into third provisionally. This is terrible for Valerio Gallo. He's going to be right down the order here. That's not what he wants going into the final, but it's exactly what Baptiste Beauvois wants. Here comes Malky. What can he do? The Swedish driver, his first time here at one of the events. Unfortunately, a little bit off the pace, a 1:53.9.
The next group out then, warming their tyres up. Marcus Connonen, the Finn. Can he do anything? Let's go over to Steve then. So, Steve, what do you make of Valerio Gallo? Difficult qualifying lap there for him, and it's, well, he plummeted down. He's 7th so far. Yeah,
it's a really, really close field, as you can see with the times. I was just looking at his sector times, and he just messed up the first sector. So I think mainly just coming through the La Source hairpin where you can lose so much time, and just 3/10 in that sector alone.
Problem is, of course, if you do get that corner wrong, you lose time all the way down to Les Combes. So, Steve, while we have you here now, what's going through his head? I mean, he is leading on points, but he's got a massive task between him and his closest rival. What do you do in this situation?
Yeah, that's the main thing he's got to be worried about right now, the gap between himself, the amount of people between himself and his main rival. So all he's got to do is just really just get his head down and just overtake as many people as he can.
So giving himself a big old workload then has Valerio Gallo in this race, as it remains to be seen where he will end up as the next group of drivers out on their next flying laps, or their only flying laps, of course, in this race, being a Super Pole format. Soft tyres, of course, for all of these drivers. Just to remind you, of course, this is the only race where we have 3 different tyre compounds available for our drivers to try. Here is Salvatore Mariclino, who has been battling kind of all weekend long, really, with Giorgio Mangano. Let's see whether he is going to be able to do something here as he comes down through Pouon, just getting the heat into the tyres and the brakes, and of course making sure that he's got adequate room on the circuit as well, because the last thing you want is to be close to a driver behind, especially coming through these medium speed corners. So Marcus Connonen then lining himself up for his only flying lap in this one over the timing line. Now talk us down through into La Source. How important is that exit out of that hairpin? Then look at Carlos Salazar. Let's see what he does.
Well, we saw, didn't we? We saw what happened to Gallo getting it wrong. Let's see what Salazar does here. Late braking into here. You almost want to touch the wall on the way through, and then just straight line the exit. Oh, and there you go. So that's exactly what you don't want to see, is that big kick of oversteer, because now you've lost time all the way down to Les Combes, and he'll know that as well. And it's not really been a great final, I think, for Salazar so far. He's not had the run of luck. I don't think he's had the confidence in the car, and it shows. He's just not been anywhere near the sharp end where we know he can be.
Yeah, we know that, and we know that some drivers favour more down-forcey cars, some favour less down-forcey cars. It's an interesting kettle of fish, and let's see what Salazar is going to be able to do. He's a tenth of a second down already in that first sector. One wonders whether he's going to carry that. Now, Marcin Swideric, a guy who qualified, of course, very well in race 2, inside the top 10 very firmly, very impressive, especially given that it is his first ever final result then. So coming through Les Combes and then through into the right-hander. Let's see what his first sector time is going to be. Will it be anything to write home about? Doesn't look to be anything too impressive at the moment, but not bad nonetheless. And of course, this could all play into the hands of these other drivers, especially Baptiste Beauvois, who currently sits at the top of the order with his championship rival, Valerio Gallo, down in 7th position. Now, what about Patrick Blanchet? We know he's pretty handy behind the wheel of these. He and Beauvois had a nice little ding-dong in the world final last year.
Yeah, I mean, Blanchet, when he wants to do well, he does well, it seems. He's a weird one. You never know, like, what sort of result you're going to get from him. Sometimes he's the fastest out there by quite some way. Others, he just doesn't really seem to warrant any mention, which is harsh to say, but that's sort of been how this final's been from him this time around. Connonen, what's he going to do?
8th fastest at the moment then, so second to the bottom as it stands with all the times that have been set. 8th quickest as he sits. Here's Carlos Salazar. He goes 9th quickest then. So Valerio Gallo breathing a bit of a sigh of relief that he's not going further down the order than that. What about Adam Sassuolo? He wasn't on too bad of a lap here at all. He comes over the timing line. 3rd quickest. Wow! Where's that lap time come there from Adam Sassuolo? He's really pulled it out right at the end of this session. What about Marcin Swideric? It's not anything to write home about, and it's only 12th fastest there for Swideric, so the pole has got a lot of work to do then into race conditions. What about Salvatore Maraclino? He's ready to come over the timing line, not too far away from Beauvois. He was, but it is only 7th best at the end of this session then. So here is Patrick Blajan out of the final corner over the timing line. What is Blajan going to do? 6th quickest. Gallo is going to be 10th fastest as it stands. Now Nikita Moisov isn't too far away. He's only just under 2/10 adrift of this, so he could be ready to get himself inside the top 10 if he has a strong final sector. Over the timing line comes the Czech driver, and he goes just outside. 11th quickest there for Nikita Moisov. One final lap to come then from Manu Rodriguez. Out of the bus stop, over the timing line comes the Spaniard, and he will go just 14th fastest at the end of that session. So Baptiste Beauvois takes pole position ahead of the grand final for the EMEA region, ahead of Jose Serrano and Adam Sassuolo. Very impressive result for both of those, all 3 of those drivers, but a lot of work to do then for Valerio Gallo ahead of this grand final. My goodness me, we are setting ourselves up for an absolute treat here. So the qualifying standings then do sit with Baptiste Beauvois on pole position once again ahead of Jose Serrano. Adam Sassuolo, great lap at the end of qualifying then for the grand final. 3rd quickest, not bad.
Unexpected. I mean, I don't know discredit to Adam at all, but he's not had the best run today. I think he's suddenly going, oh, I've got to do well here. It's double points, isn't it? So now he's finally switched into high gear, it seems. Someone, of course, the big news, Gallo. 10th place. And we know he has better pace than that, but I don't really see, he's got such a big gap between him and Beauvois now. It's going to be a race of his life if he wants to be European champion.
Steve, he's got a mountain to climb. How's he going to overturn that deficit that he had in qualifying in the race?
Yeah, he really has got a very big mountain to climb from 10th place. It was amazing how close he was. He was only 2/10 behind Beauvois. It was only 2/10. It was really not much at all. But, he has only a 4-point margin at the moment. But with a double points race coming up, there's a very good chance that his big rival is going to outscore him here. So he really does need to get a move on through the field as quickly as possible.
I mean, it's going to make things very exciting for us. Double points, of course, on offer here for this grand final as well. So Beauvois, if he romps away into the distance, and we know he's pretty handy behind the wheel of these cars, he could be in for, well, a very promising end to this weekend.
That's all Beauvois got to do, basically. Just make sure he's leading into late common on lap 1 and just drive away to do what he does best.
Lovely stuff then. Let's go then, shall we, and get the grand final for the EMEA region underway. It's time then for the grand final. Here's how the grid lines up. Baptiste Beauvois is on pole position, the Frenchman, with Jose Serrano lining up alongside him. Then the second row of the grid, that's headed by Adam Sassuolo. Great qualifying from the Briton. Can he convert it, though, into a strong result? He's got Rick Kevlin for company alongside him. The next row of the grid is headed by the Spaniard Coque Lopez, one of his better performances that we've seen in the X2019. Let's see what happens under racing conditions with Patrick Blajan for company. Again, an X29 team specialist alongside. Giorgio Mangano heads up P7. Alongside him is Salvatore Maraclino. An all-Italian row there. Just inside the top 10 is Adam Tapai in P9. And on the fringes of it, Valerio Gallo down in 10th position. A lot of work to do for the driver who is fighting for the championship here today. Nikita Moisov lines up P11. And alongside him in P12 is Marcus Conlon, the Finnish driver. Towards the back of the grid, you can see Carlos Salazar lines up P13. Unlucky for some, but hopefully it won't be for him here today. Manuel Rodriguez lines up alongside him. And then the 8th and final row of the grid is comprised of the Swede of Christopher Mauki down there in P15. And in 16th place is Marcin Swiderek, the Polish driver. Baptiste Beauvois leads the field away then from their starting grid, and he starts on pole position for this one, just to remind you as well. But the big talking point, Valerio Gallo, the points leader, he is down in 10th position on the grid, and he's bolted the hard tyres on straight away here, Jimmy. What's the tactics for that?
Yeah, we were discussing this before the race started. Hard tyre, I think, is the way to go. He's going to try get round, get in the pits as soon as he can, and then just have free air and go for it. And then that way, instead of having 9 people in front of him, he should only have 2. As the Maragino to play have gone for the same strategy. Interestingly, as you said, both were on the medium, so I guess maybe trying to make the best of his start, and Serrano going for an aggressive strategy on that soft tyre. Watch out for him, he's been good all weekend.
Baptiste Beauvois leads the field over the line. The grand final for the EMEA region here at Spa-Francorchamps is underway. Baptiste Beauvois leads the field over the line and down towards La Source for the first of 20 times. He's on the medium tyres. Jose Serrano in second position is on the softer compound, so expect him to be quick. He's going to try and get himself ahead of Beauvois as soon as he possibly can. And the run out of La Source for these drivers up through Eau Rouge and Radion is going to be the crucial tipping point in this race, potentially for many. Let's see what's going to happen then. Up through Eau Rouge, up into Radion we go, and down the Kemmel straight then. And look at the run that Serrano has got on Baptiste Beauvois. He pulls alongside Beauvois. He's alongside the Frenchman. He's on the outside. They're running side by side, and Serrano is through into the race lead before the braking zone. Look at Kemmel. He's going through, trying to on the inside of Coque Lopez, but he has to relinquish it. Lopez into 4th position there, so a nice clean start from all of these drivers as they filter their way down into turn 8 of Rivage.
I think Beauvois went for the medium tyre, but he sort of foresaw this happening. He knew that he was going to have Serrano run up behind him on the first sector, so why even try fight? Why let Serrano go on that soft tyre, not worry about him, and then just focus on his own race on that medium tyre in his own clean air. Meanwhile, Coque Lopez also on that soft tyre, trying to get by Adam Sasquillo right now, who's holding 3rd place on board with Rick Kevlam, also on that soft compounder tyre. So right now, Baptiste Beauvois holding these guys up. Coque Lopez goes for a dive at the pit back there, maybe a little bit late on the brakes, but Sasquillo gave him the room in the end to let Coque Lopez through, and up into 3rd goes the Spaniard. Now Sasquillo, what can he do in this grand final? He's not had a good weekend up until now, but I think this is the time to shine. Double points, of course, an offer here as well. It's a long race, so a lot of time to think about it. So this is where he really needs to have a good result. Baptiste Beauvois now looking in his mirror, I'm sure, aware that Coque Lopez on that soft compound tyre is coming to try and join his countrymen at the top of the field.
Incident under investigation between Moisov and Salazar on that first lap as well. Warning against Carlos Salazar as a result of that. Sasquillo very close behind Coque Lopez, but Lopez, of course, on the quicker of the 2 compound of tyres. Now Beauvois is going to be coming under a bit of pressure, one would imagine, from the Spaniard before too long. Now Gallo, Maraclino coming into the pit lane then. So the hard tyre runners, as expected, getting off of them as soon as they possibly can. The minimum time they have to run it for is 1 lap, and everybody getting off of those hard tyres, getting onto the soft compound of tyre. The crucial thing here for Valerio Gallo, he needs some clean air after this pit stop. He needs to emerge with nobody in front of him, which he has been able to do so he can just run his own race for a little bit and set a bit of pace here as they're ready to change hands for 2nd position, because here comes Lopez on Beauvois on the Kemmel straight. Sasquillo's not too far adrift of this. A great view from Kevlam's car. Lopez is through into 2nd ahead of the Frenchman.
This could be interesting now. So we're trying to watch the entire grid at the same time. Gallo he's currently stuck behind Maraglino on that medium tyre, but he'll be by him soon, I imagine. I think he's going to pass him now. Yeah, there you go. Past he goes on the scorecard on the left there. And his goal really is to run in clear air for as long as possible and hope that Baptiste Beauvois at the front of the field, we see him there in the blue car. He's come up and he's come, oh, he spun! Beauvois spun his round, and we've just cut away right at the wrong second there, but Beauvois has spun, he falls down the order, there he goes, rejoins in 2nd position behind Patrick Blajan. Oh, what a disaster. We should hopefully have a replay of that at some point to show you what happened there, but I think he just got loose on the exit there of X, and it's so easy to do. We've seen so many drivers make that same mistake, and Beauvois now handing the advantage to Valerio Gallo.
Well, we talk about pressure quite a lot in the FIA Gran Turismo Championship. That's a perfect example of cracking under it for Baptiste Beauvois. Could that potentially cost him a chance at the EMEA regional title here? And Will it demote him down into second position? Let's see what happens then. Here is Sassuolo under pressure from Rick Kevelam into the bus stop. Sassuolo tries to go defensive on the brakes. Kevelam is very much closer, of course, very much quicker as well on that softer compound of tyre coming out of that bus stop now. Those two of Kevelam and Mangano, who we're riding on board with, need to get past Sassuolo as soon as they possibly can to try and get the benefit of their race and the benefit of the soft tyres. Let's have a look at a replay then of the incident with Baptiste Beauvois. Incident under investigation for Valerio Gallo ignoring the track limit. Let's see what happened here for Beauvois. Out of X on the curb. Oh, just got on the power a bit too greedy. Bang into the wall. Fortunately, he didn't spin it round and face the wrong way. Was able to have a bit of damage limitation there. Sits in 7th position.
He actually did a lot better than I thought he would there. He managed, as you said, not spinning the car, which has lost him a lot of time. Meanwhile, this battle for third still going strong. Kevelam being pushed by Giorgio Mangano past Adam Sassuolo. These guys have a history, of course, and again, more contact between the two. So these guys have had a history of contact at various events, and here's another example now. So I'm sure no playing nice for Mangano now. Gloves are off, but he always wants to try and get past Sassuolo as soon as he can, because all the time he's behind the brick, he's just losing time on that soft compound of tyre.
So out of X they go. Oh, and a penalty for Valerio Gallo. He was under investigation for ignoring track limits. A 1-second penalty there for Valerio Gallo. Is that now advantage of Baptiste Beauvois as a result of that? 1.6 seconds the gap sits between Beauvois and Valerio Gallo. Steve, did you see what happened there with Valerio?
Yes, it was actually very interesting. He came out of the pit lane just ahead of Maraglino, but he let him pass, slipstream back past him, but then when he went back past him, he went a little bit wide, coming into the lane 2 chicane, so that's why he got the 1-second penalty.
Interesting, really. I mean, needless, but here you go. There is the battle on track right now. Baptiste Beauvois, who is yet to stop, versus Valerio Gallo, who has stopped at the moment with a 1-second penalty. The life points rankings aren't quite correct at the moment, so we won't go to those. I think they are, sorry, apologies. So Gallo would still win at the moment where he is right now. So Rhino will be second, but it doesn't matter because Gallo's about to upset that order altogether and drives past Baptiste Beauvois up into 7th place. Now he will have to serve that penalty though, coming on to the straights. That's going to slow him right down again, and Baptiste might have a chance to get back through. Now, the second isn't really going to cover the time that Baptiste lost in the spin, though, I don't think, Tom.
No, one wouldn't think so there, but it could cost potentially Baptiste 3 positions in the final point standings. Just to remind you, of course, if you have just joined us, that there is double points in this grand final. It's the play for between Valerio Gallo and Baptiste Beauvois, the two men you're looking at on your screen at the moment. They are battling for top honours in the EMEA region. They will all get through, or both rather, get through to the grand final regardless of what happens, but it could be potentially different in terms of the order. Now Mangano and Sassuolo are going toe-to-toe once more. Sassuolo on the medium couple of time, Mangano on the soft. The Italian now ahead of the Briton once again, so he's through into 4th place here.
There it is. So it was kind of interesting, really, let's be honest. So Sassuolo couldn't really defend there from Mangano. The straight line speed with the draft, it's hard to be able to keep someone behind you there. Plus with the tyres as well. He did well to hold these guys up for as long as he did. Now it's strategy time. What do you do now if it happens to Sassuolo? Just try and put in some nice clean lap, trying to lose them time to the cars behind you, because Adam actually is a proper contender for this race as well as Serrano and Lopez. So we'll see what they do as the race goes forward. Here's Beauvois and Gallo at the moment, our 2 leaders on points so far this weekend. Beauvois second, Gallo first overall at the moment, of course, but still a lot of pit stops to come. The race is yet to show how it's going to pan out. That's the fun of these races. It's not over like that. It's a proper endurance thing, this, and you have to really keep an eye on everyone. Otherwise, you get lost quite easy.
Yeah, let's see what is going to happen with our drivers then. So Valerio Gallo out of Stavolo 2, they come, and in toward Blanchimont. So soft compound of tyres here for Valerio Gallo. He's going to be a bit quicker than Baptiste Beauvois. Got a great run in the slipstream as well. Coming to the inside into Blanchimont. Has to back out at the last moment. Beauvois had track position there, and Gallo not wanting to take too many risks on lap number 4. He's already had a 1-second penalty, and would rather that wasn't the case, especially with his rival in the EMEA Regional Championship. A good run though under the bus stop may be something there for Valerio Gallo. No opportunity presenting itself at the moment down in towards La Source, and Beauvois, quicker of the 2 drivers last time around. So over the line and down through La Source we go. Now this is where Valerio Gallo's opportunity to find his way through is. And if you're Gallo, do you want to get yourself ahead of Beauvois as soon as you can and just get yourself in clear air?
100%. You're being held up right now if you're Gallo. Beauvois is on the medium tyres, so it's just having to follow him and go at his speed. And Beauvois knows that. That's why he's trying to keep him behind, because he knows he's got time to try and make back. So Beauvois goes defensive. Gallo's going to go now to the outside. Will Beauvois come across to squeeze him? No, he won't. I think he just can't quite defend that. So decided to, okay, fair enough, I'll leave that as it is. And Gallo then goes up into second place. And now he has to get away. He has to push as hard as possible, because right now Serrano and Coque Lopez are the ones he has to keep an eye on.
So here are the live points rankings on the right-hand side of your screen. As it stands, Valerio Gallo would lead the way with 28 points at the end of this EMEA region, ahead of Jose Serrano, the man who leads the race. Hardly spoken about him over the course of this one. Him and Coque Lopez would sit in second and third if it stays as it is. But of course, strategy and pit stops still to come in this one. Beauvois, as a result of the mistake he has made in this race, where he ended up in the barrier on the outside of turn number 9, would be down into 4th position ahead of Giorgio Mangano. So that would be a very unwelcome result for the Frenchman. Let's see how things play out. Still just under 15 laps now remaining here in this grand final, and still plenty of time, as we know, for things to change. And I think it just goes to show, really, as we saw in qualifying, one simple mistake like Gallo made in his qualifying lap, and like Beauvois has made under race conditions, can just cost you so much.
Well, it is at this level. You know, you can't afford to be making mistakes like that at all. Otherwise, it just comes back to bite you straight away. Now, Coque Lopez, hello.
Where's he come from?
Okay. He's looking fast at the moment. Maybe he heard us talking about him earlier on. He does this. So I say, Coque's not done too well recently. And suddenly, you know, he comes from nowhere and he's now fighting for. In fact, I think he's going to take the lead here. Here's Serrano. What can he do? Not much, apart from sit there and give Coque Lopez a toe. Watches his countryman just drive past there. Goodbye, Jose, says Coque. And he comes up to Lecom. He'll take that position and then just pull away to the middle sector. Coque Lopez up to the lead.
Let's see whether Coque can end up on top at the end of this one then. He certainly seems to have the pace, the confidence and the car underneath him to do exactly that as things stand. The crucial question is, can he pull out a gap? In terms of lap times, he is the quickest man on circuit. Last time around, he was half a second quicker than Jose Serrano. So what that would indicate that he is looking very confident with those soft compound of tyres underneath him. Let's go down to Steve, who's got something on Adam Sassuolo.
Yeah, just been following Adam. In my completely unbiased opinion, I want him to do well, of course, being a British driver. But I think he's done quite a clever thing by starting off on the medium tyre when all the guys around him are on soft tyres. So he's been able to stick in the slipstream for the first couple of laps and just gain a couple of free seconds. So I think watch out for him coming back potentially onto the podium at the end of the race.
That's what the game though, isn't it? It's just trying to find that time everywhere, even if it's the start of the race. I mean, when you start on the medium compound car, you still have to accept that there are people in the soft, you're going to get overtaken. But if you can hold him up, if you can stay with him for an extra little bit of time, you wouldn't have had that on your own. So it all works out in the end. It all acts as a positive. Speaking of positive, Coque Lopez, 1 second now clear of Jose Serrano. The slipstream is about 1.2 seconds, and as I say that, he peels into the pit lane. What's he going to do? Soft. Okay, so a free-stop strategy at least then from Coque Lopez. Rick Kevlin doing the same thing, as is Giorgio Mangano. Serrano, though, importantly, opting not to do that.
Yeah, Beauvois is also pitted, by the way. He's down in 13th position. So that'll freak you out because he's on the harder compound of tyre here now, so he'll be on that for one lap and then go off. So yeah, he's doing what Jimmy Broadbent has always infamously referred to as the Miyazono strat, Jimmy.
I've been trying not to call it that anymore. Because apparently, other people can do strategies.
Can they?
That's what I've been told. But if things ended as they were now, it would be Coque Lopez and Serrano at the top of the points order, obviously, given they're out front as well. But more importantly for Coque Lopez is he made a stop onto the soft tyre and he's still in clear air. That is so important because he then gets to go out there and just basically do hot laps, and that's what you want on that soft compound stick.
Here's a duo of Italians squabbling for position. Valerio Gallo versus Salvatore Mariclino. Wonder if those two are going to be nice to one another. Gallo pulls to the inside and goes through into 8th place. Mariclino there not doing too much to hold up his countryman. And let's see whether Gallo is going to be able to get himself onto the back of Manuel Rodriguez before too long. Medium compound of tyre that Gallo is on is a little bit slower, as we know, compared to the softer compound that Rodriguez is on. But let's see whether the difference in driving style and the pace difference is enough for Gallo to close that deficit down. He needs a strong result here. He needs the strategy to go his way, try and make some progress in this race and hold on to the top of the order.
That's right. I mean, the problem when you're trying out different strategies and different ideas is that, let's say with that free-stop strategy, we've said this many times before, it has to be a perfect race for it to work. You can't have a slow stint, otherwise that you don't offset that pit stop time. And when you're in that mind frame, maybe getting stuck behind someone, maybe trying to catch someone, trying to hold on to somebody. You start pushing maybe a little bit too hard, and those mistakes start creeping in. Now, Jose Serrano going in for that medium compounder tyre. Now, Steve, if we have you there, I'm interested here because he's sort of gone for a different strategy. I think he's going for the 2-stop over the 3-stop. What do you reckon here? Which one is the way to go?
It's really tough to call at the moment. I've seen quite a lot of drivers actually going for the 3-stop already, and I think Gallo is going to do it. He's already done 2, but I think it's too early just to have done 2. I think he's going to do a 3rd one at some point. So I think that's going to be quite interesting to see actually which one turns out to be the best strategy.
Coque Lopez, the driver who's now got himself ahead of Jose Serrano. Now here is Kevlin versus Asuilo side by side on the Camel Straight. Then Kevlin on the outside has got the soft tyres on, has got track position, and now inherits 3rd place from the Briton. So Kevlin into P3 then, ahead of Adams Asuilo. Nice move there from the Dutchman. And in front of him is Jose Serrano on that medium competitive tyre. So Kevlin just slowly creeping his way up the order. Bit of a quiet race for him so far, but coming good into the middle stage.
Yeah, importantly there for Lopez ahead of Serrano into that clear air that he said is oh so important. But Serrano has his own clear air now, but does have a very fast Rick Kevlin behind him. Here's Adam Asuilo getting a flash there from Giorgio Magno saying, get out of the way, mate. I'm not even going to bother trying to be kind this time. And does so straight by. And Adam repays the favour a little bit. Like, oh, if you're going to die for me, mate, at least make it through the corner quickly. These guys, I don't think there's anything malicious between them, but they always seem to come together on circuit, don't they?
There's no love lost, no. I think is probably the politest way of saying that between them. So Adams Asuilo now into P5. Giorgio Mangano beginning to pull away from the Briton. Then what about the likes of Valerio, Gallo, Baptiste Beauvois? Beauvois has pitted from the hard tyre. He's now on the softer compound. One wonders whether he is going to be able to do anything to make an impression on this race, or whether that early mistake is going to have cost him very dear indeed. One other factor to mention as well, of course, other than tyres, is fuel consumption. These drivers will have to take fuel on board. It's a longer race, and of course there's the question of when you should do that as Adam Asuilo comes into the pit lane, because do you do it early doors and get that fuel on board, have a heavier car in the early stages, or do you wait until you're running on a thimble of fuel and take it towards the end of the race but not have to fill up quite as much?
Yeah, so firstly things, use X2019, what do you expect with a V12 in the back of it? But that plus it's pushing all that downforce, it's trying to push this car through the air at high speed. It just drinks like Tom Brooks after a GT show, bless him. But
thank you.
Here's Rick
glowing
Kevlin.
Character reference.
Here's Rick Kevlin then, past Serrano up into 2nd place, and Serrano doing the smart thing. I think they're not finding it too much. He knows you have to focus on your race time, not necessarily where you are in the race at each particular time. So you are thinking about that. I mean, Steve, you've been in these races before. You've been in these longer races here. How much of you is aware of that? Or do you get too caught up with what's going on around you? Or you're always thinking of that, right, I've got to make sure the stint is X amount of time, that I'm running the fastest race possible?
Yeah, I think it's something very easy to do is to get caught up in the battle immediately around you. But as you say, and as you correctly say, you really don't want to do that. You kind of just want to focus on your own race and get to the end of the race as quickly as possible. There's going to be people around you who are on a better tyre or lower fuel, and you sort of have to ignore them and just focus on your own race.
Except if it's in the last few laps, then you just weave.
Yes.
Get out of my way. That's how you do it. So Mangano right now, up behind Jose Serrano again. So that draft will have better braking with these new tyres. Tucked up the inside, again Serrano saying, all right, fair enough, I should go. And Mangano up to 3rd.
Not much point in fighting it there for Jose Serrano, although one wonders if he is going to try and close that gap down. You can hear the V12 engines howling as they come over the timeline. They can soundtrack to a Greenpeace rally, those things, as they come in towards La Source then. So Mangano is now with a bit of clear air in front of him. 1.8 seconds he has the gap between himself and Rick Kevlin. And you can see Serrano there just trying to get into the slipstream, just trying to not lose too much time, because if he can latch onto the back of Mangano, it will help him out with his race, because it will just pull him forward, pull him a little bit further away, and perhaps give him a bit more breathing space when Coque Lopez comes in to make that stop. And of course, Coque needed a perfect race. Back to that in a moment. Here comes Serrano, back on Mangano then, up the top of the hill into Les Combes. On the inside is Mangano, side by side they go. Serrano, though, has got track position and shuts the door very firmly indeed. So the Spaniard is now ahead. And of course, we're coming into the part of the track where it's very hard to get past. It's so much one of time through the likes of Ix and Fouon that you can't really find your way through. So it's advantage Jose Serrano once more.
You've got to be careful here, though, with Serrano. You've got to be careful because Mangano is just going to send it on that tyre. He knows he's losing time. So here he goes up the inside of Pouon, and they're just both losing time doing this. As Steve and I were saying, that race time is going to be just higher and higher and higher because they're just squabbling over a position that really doesn't matter. What Serrano really probably should have done there is get in the toe of Mangano, save a little bit of fuel, make sure that pit stop you have when you are putting fuel in is a little bit faster. But it's easier said than done. When you're in the cockpit, sometimes you just go, right, okay, I've got to go for this move, I've got to do it now. And others, maybe you err on the side of caution. But look in the background there, Patrick Blajan in the soft car as well. He's now catching up with Serrano. Interestingly, Adam Pasquillo has gone for that harder compound tyre on this team. The only person running it at the moment. I wonder where he goes from here.
Steve, what do you reckon is the name of the game now then for these guys? How are you going to be playing this? If you were in this position at the moment, what would you be thinking? What would be going through your mind at the halfway stage?
Drive fast, don't crash, pretty much. But I think, yeah.
I'm glad we got him on board.
Just the top tips available from Super GT here today. But it's really just a case of just churning out those laps the best you can, as we alluded to earlier. Just trying to be as consistent as possible as Adam Pasquillo comes in. Probably for his last stop, and I think he's going to be one of only a very few drivers going for the two-stop strategy.
And you can feel from the engine there, can't you? Just about. It's quite tight before I think like that.
So it's tricky. I mean, this is a good thing about following a driver in front, perhaps, and not finding your way past. You can save a bit of fuel in the slipstream, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he will be wanting to be in his own little space. I think that's what he's doing by sitting there, and it feels like you're there forever when you're just waiting for that fuel to go in, but it has to be done. Let's see where he comes out. So he comes out from 14th place, big gaps in front of him. Just do your times now, all you can do.
7 seconds. I mean, that's Christmas come early there for Adam Pasquillo. That's exactly what he wanted.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not sure if this is the fastest way around, honestly, but we'll see. This strategy, the two-stop strategy, sort of depends on other people having fights and issues and stuff like that. Whereas the free stop is much more aggressive. It's like, all right, I'm going to go as fast as I can for the entire race. And more, I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested to see what happens here. Coque Lopez, though, doing everything right so far. He's on the free stop strategy from what we can tell. 4.8 seconds ahead of Rick Kevlin. All he's got to do now is do laps. But no, you know what? Coque can win this. Overall, he can win this.
It's a possibility. I mean, we saw he was so close to Jose Serrano. I'd love to have a look at the live point standings as it sits. There we are, right on cue. Thanks, Mr. Director. Appreciate that one. So Coque Lopez would sit with a 4-point advantage over Valerio Gallo. Can you imagine us crowning the EMEA champion of Coque Lopez? I mean, he's just been under the radar all race, all evening, all weekend, whatever you want to refer to it as. And he could come away at the top of the order as it stands.
I can just about see him right now. We've got him in the driver cam on for us in the booth here, and I can see him looking a little bit more up in the seat than usual. No, he's looking like, okay, I think he knows what's going on as well. This, of course, very much depends on Valerio Gallo. If Gallo manages to get back up the field, then it might not quite be the dream come true for Coque Lopez, but that very much depends on that. And Gallo is going for an aggressive strategy as well. So, yeah, it's one of those races where we don't really know what's going to happen until we get into the last few laps. It's frustrating.
It's a really difficult one to read, isn't it? Here is Valerio Gallo then, the man who was leading the point standings at the start of this race. 2 perfect races so far. It all came undone for him with a very difficult qualifying. You can see him here on the ragged edge of adhesion in P5 on the medium compound tyre. 14 seconds the deficit between himself and the likes of Patrick Blajan in P4. Get the words out eventually. But I wonder how much ground he's going to make. He could be on for a potential top 5 finish, but of course others around him have got to make those pit stops there, whereas he is on a different strategy compared to everybody else here. So let's see what he's going to do and see how it plays out here for Valerio Gallo.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, as Steve wisely said, drive fast and don't crash. That's basically what he's got to do right now, is make sure that he's putting in the best lap times possible. That's all you can do with Valerio Gallo. I mean, he's had to fight through the field. He had that fight with Beauvois, well, that would have slowed him up a little bit. And same for everybody else right now. Everyone's sort of spread out at this point, and Coque Lopez coming into the pit lane with 1 litre of fuel. Not playing it too close then, Coque.
Rick Kevelan with 2 litres left. Goodness me. I mean, you know, I've had bigger bottles of pop from the shops than the amount of fuel that they've got in their cars.
That this man's a sugar addict.
Yes, very, very good point. Sugar Addicts Anonymous, that's where I need to go. These guys need to get some fuel though, and that is exactly what they're doing. Coque Lopez putting some more soft tyres on his car then. So just having a look at it, he's gone soft to soft on his first stint. He's going soft again. So he's still going to run the medium hard combat of tyres, let's not forget. I wonder whether he's just going to try and do medium for 1 lap and then hard for 1 lap at the end of this one. Steve, what do you reckon on the strategy here? What's Coque's plan? Because going from soft to soft again for a second time, that's a bit of an interesting call.
Yeah, so he's still got to do 2 more pit stops after this. It's a bit of a weird one, going for the 4-stop strategy. I don't know what that's going to be called. We've got the
Coque strat, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the Coque strat now, as it shall be affectionately known from now on. But an interesting one. Hopefully, it can work out for him.
We'll see. I'm very sort of. I'm thinking about it because I'm thinking, okay, just trying to wear.
I can hear the cogs whirring away inside the head there, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm powering up. I'll get there soon. But I really think this is a mistake. I honestly do. I don't think he's done. Either he's not done this on purpose, or he's thinking, right, I know I've got a good thing going here. Let's see what I can do. But 2 stops, and he's got to take some fuel, I imagine.
Do you remember when Igor Fraga made a similar mistake in Paris last year? He went from the soft tyre to the soft compound of tyre, and he had to come in and change over once again, and that completely ruined his race and ruined his weekend, really, because he was on for top honours. I wonder whether Coque's just done that, and maybe it's a mistake he's not selected the compound of tyre that he was expecting. Either way, you can see significantly how much quicker he is compared to Patrick Blajan. Let's see what he's going to do. Is this a tactical decision from Coque Lopez? Is it a mistake?
I think it is a mistake. I think this is I'd like to be proven wrong, but I don't see how this is going to work. You know? Maybe he's just thinking of our lovely Gran Turismo TV team here, because that video of Fraga has over 1 million views. Maybe they're trying to get the same here for Coque. That is perfect.
That's what he needed. Maybe that's what he was hoping for. Try and close the gap down and then get as much clear air as possible.
Now, big old drive fast, don't crash t-shirt now for Coque Lopez. Go as quick as you can. This needs to be Schumacher Hungary. This needs to be every qualifying lap, every bit of speed you can get out of that car now, because he has 2 pit stops to offset. I don't think he has to take any fuel. I'm not sure how much fuel he put into the car when he came in. If he has to take fuel, I'm pretty sure
he took fuel on his last stop. I'm fairly sure
I'm not sure we took as much as he needed to.
Maybe not. Yeah. No, you're quite right. Yeah, this is true.
So we've got to monitor that gap between Lopez and Kevelan. So if the strategy is as we think it's going to be, he'll pit in on lap 19 and then at the start of lap 20, the last lap, to do his hard and medium tyre stints. My brain! Steve, help!
See, can you make any sense of this, Steve? Because we're trying here. I'll come back to you in a moment there, Steve, because here's Blajan versus Serrano, side by side down the Kemmel Straight. Blajan, the Hungarian driver, is now ahead of the Spaniard, but Serrano's not going to take that line down. Blajan squeezes him into the braking zone, side by side into Leykun. Blajan's ahead. Oh, big slide there from Serrano as well, costing him time in the second part of the corner. And now Blajan's got clear track in front of him and some soft compound rubber underneath of him. But, Steve, what do you make of this one then? Because Jimmy and I are frying our brains here trying to work out what's happening.
I'm doing the same. I'm frying my brain looking at this timing screen. But at the moment, Lopez is 13 seconds ahead of second, so he's got a lot of time in hand. It's going to be an interesting one to see how much fuel he has to put in, because you do lose an absolute ton of time when you're sitting there fueling the car. But I think he's going to go for a medium tyre just for like 1 lap, 1 or 2 laps, and then hard tyre at the end for 1 lap. So it's going to be interesting at the end.
And a bit of a project for you, Steve. What's happened to Baptiste Beauvois? He's down in 11th position. He's been nowhere in this race. Has he made a mistake that we haven't seen? Could you do a bit of investigative research for us and find out?
Yes, well, I've been watching him, and he seems to be lapping quite consistently. I think it's just he lost maybe 3 or 4 crucial seconds with that semi-spin he had into the barrier. But as I said, the drivers who have pitted more are going to come strong towards the end.
Okay, that's interesting. And again, my brain, there's still sparks coming out of my ears at the moment. I'm trying to work things out, but that is the great thing about these races, these longer races, is that we get to a point where we're not really sure what's going on half the time, but we get there eventually. I shouldn't admit that's commentator, should I? Here is Adam Swillow, someone else who has tried something slightly different. He's now behind Giorgio Mango. Is this good friend again? They're back together, isn't it lovely? But This time Adam has the advantage because there's a big toe now up towards Les Combes. He'll just drive by Giorgio. There you go, past the Italian driver up into 6th position on the faster compound tyre soft tyre. Now, will Giorgio come back a little? If I were Giorgio, I would, because why the hell not? Adam, though, is going to take the inside line. Masterful defending there, just sitting on the apex, making sure there's no reply possible from Mangolo, and now in pursuit of Serrano. Patrick Blajan, though, where's he come from? P4. This is a classic story of punished Blajan, where he had a bad result at our last live event, which was back at Sydney all those months ago, where he unfortunately had the crash when chasing the top 2 drivers. And now he's back on it. He's using that, I guess, frustration and all the disappointment now to channel it into speed, and he's currently lapping one of the fastest in the circuit.
Well, there we are then. Live point standings on the right-hand side of your screen. Coque Lopez would sit with 38 points at the top of the order. He would become the EMEA region champion after our final here and would go into the world final, I am sure, with a very big smile on his face ahead of Valerio, Gallo and Jose Serrano, Kevlin and Maraclino. If Beauvois finishes where he is down the 11th place, he wouldn't even be inside the top 5. Given how close it was, actually, I wonder what a difference that is going to make for him, because, of course, he's outside the points here. Let's not forget at the moment here, Baptiste Beauvois. There's double points on offer in this final race. Just getting a couple of points would mean the world to him and would certainly secure his a stronger position for him in the world final as it stands.
Yes, definitely. It's important to get as many points now as you can. Everything helps in this. Any decent position helps, and you've got to think of that. Play the long game, as people have been doing in this race as well. I am really interested about what's going to happen now. I'm desperately trying to work it out. So here's what I think right now, Steve. Maybe we can have a little conversation here. Is that Coque has some fuel to take, but I think what he's gambling on is that he can change tyres in that time and carry that fuel and not really have to spend any extra time in the pit stop taking fuel, if that makes sense.
I'm pretty sure the fuel gets done after the tyres, so
it's separate then.
Yeah, you can't actually gain any time. But I'm very interested to know how much fuel he has. It's going to be the most anticipated fuel stop of all time, I think, when he comes in.
Only on GT Sport. That's all you get here. So for Coque now, he has been extending his lead. He's been lapping the best part of a second and a half faster than Rick Kevlin, which is what he has to do if he's out there on the soft tyre compared to the medium. And so realistically, who are his competitors here? Kevlin, I think, has another stop to take. Let's have a look at what he's done so far. Kevlin's, Kevin's got to do one more. Blajan is actually good to the end. So the gap really to the next competitor he's to worry about is 27 seconds.
That's plenty of time. Unless you've got to take fuel on board, of course.
Yeah.
He just have to make those 2 pit stops. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Very good point. So he's trying to... what are his lap times? Let's have a look at Coque Lopez. There's a 154.1 last time around. Kevlin was a 155.4, whereas Patrick Blajan, the man who we need to keep an eye on, was a 154.1. So exactly the same lap time as Coque Lopez, riding on board here with the Hungarian driver. If you remember, back to our world final last year in Monaco, he was going door handle to door handle with Baptiste Beauvois for the podium positions. That went down to the final lap of the final race, of the final event of the year. And he is now in very good shape here, is Patrick Blajan, by the looks of things. And Valerio Gallo slowly been creeping up onto the back of Giorgio Mangano, his fellow Italian. I wonder whether the 2 Italian drivers are going to be playing a bit of tactics going on here, whether they'll be helping one another or whether they'll just be going foot to the floor and saying, no, sod you, I'm off into the distance.
Do you reckon that Blajan's going to win this race, Tom?
It'd be a very unexpected one. I have to ask you, Jimmy, as well, just whilst we've got a second before Mangano and Gallo go head-to-head. Let's come back to that in a few moments' time. Here comes Gallo down the inside into Les Combes, later on the brakes, and into 6th position. Soft tyres on the X2019 of Valerio Gallo, making that nice and easy under the braking zone there as well. But out of all of the drivers we've seen over all of the 3 races in this grand final so far, who would be your driver today?
It's a toughie. I think it'll probably have to be Jose Serrano, currently in 4th position, just because he's coming to a group of people who have been racing together for a very long time. His first ever live event, and he's consistently been in the top 5.
Impressive. And unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, and unexpected too. And I think if you can do that in your first live event, I think you have a very bright future here at GT Sport. So definitely definitely a contender, I think, tonight.
Yeah, we've seen him being very strong in the EMEA region in the top 16 superstars this year as well, and that is proving to be the case once again. So Through the right hand of Stavolo 1 we go. Giorgio Magnino beginning to drop back on those medium combat of tyres, probably past their best by now. And Adam Tapai on the softer compound is going to be that little bit quicker than him. Coming out of Stavolo and in towards Blanchimont, this is where we should see those soft tyres close up. The braking zone in particular of the bus stop would be an opportunity for him to find his way past, but Tapai goes all the way around the outside of Blanchimont. That's brilliant from Adam Tapai. Lace on the brakes into the bus stop, and he is through into 7th position. That was very ballsy there from the Hungarian.
That is the racing equivalent of saying sit down. Might go around the outside, you don't worry about that. Using that soft compound to its full advantage there. Mangano just going backwards now in this race. I think his tyres have sort of come to the end of their useful life on those mediums, not quite getting the same speed that he got out of them before. He's having to sort of now just try and get to the end. The strategy did not work out for Mangano, but still time to go yet, still a few laps left here, as we know from Spa and the Gran Turismo events, anything can happen.
Adam Tapai is right on the back of Valerio Gallo here. You can see him in the forefront of his shot going side by side with the Italian, and he takes 6th place away. So Adam Tapai, the Hungarians, are on an absolute charge in the closing stages of this race.
The important thing is that means less points for Gallo. He needs all the points he can get. So our contenders coming into this race, 7th and 9th right now, but it's like way out of contenders. I'm not interested. So that's crazy, and Gallo will be thinking that. Well, these are smart guys, you know, they'll be knowing all the permutations of what's going on. That right, he's going to steal to get that. And Gallo will not be happy seeing another car between him and Coque Lopez and Serrano at the front of the field. Now, Coque Lopez's gap is up to 27 seconds. No, sorry.
It's come down. Blažen's decreased that gap.
No, you're right. Sorry, Tom. So here we go. We're going to now see what happens. So Lopez comes into pit lane. 2 minutes ago, he's got to take fuel. I don't think you can do this.
Let's see what happens then. Lopez into the pit lane. Steve, can you see anything more than we can? Can you see what's happening out there? How close are Kevelam and Blažan to Lopez
well,
here?
It will be very close. What I would say, he only has to do 2 laps. He doesn't have to take too much fuel on. It really isn't much he has to do. Blažan is coming into the final chicane now. He's actually going to be right here, but he does have to make one more stop, let's not forget.
Yeah, here is Blažan then, and there is Serrano close behind. Kevelam, of course, is in 2nd position. I don't think it's going to be enough for Lopez here. I don't think he's got the gap. He's 5.2 seconds.
I think it will.
Yeah?
I think that he's only going to take tyres. He stopped for a good chunk of time there, putting fuel in. I think he's put fuel in to go to the end.
Of course, my apologies, I forgot Kevelam was going to make another stop as well on this last lap. He's going to put the hard tyres on. So it could be enough here, yeah.
Have we seen one of the most inspired strategies since the Miyazono strat? do we have a new one? Do we have a Lopez strat? They'll be coming in and doing 6 stops next time, won't they?
Yeah, exactly.
They will. 6 stop race easy. This could be absolutely amazing. So, Steve, gap.
Yeah,
his gap to Blažan.
It was 27 down to 13, so he lost 14, but that's with fuel. So now he doesn't have to take any fuel on. So this one's going to be neck and neck, I think. It's going to be very close.
It is, and it's very close as well. Close behind Maraclino and Mangano going side by side down into turn 8. Mangano is on the outside, Maraclino's on the inside. Crucially, though, the man on the move is Baptiste Beauvois. He's now through into the top 10, so his race coming good right at the very end of this one. He could be on for 7th position. I think anything else will be a bit of a bridge too far, but that is going to be crucial for the standings here for Baptiste Beauvois. We need to have a look at the life points rankings as soon as possible, I reckon, once Lopez has made that final pit stop to see how it is going to play out with Baptiste Beauvois here.
Bear in mind, now Lopez, he is on a slower tyre. He's not going to have that same speed he had before, so the gap's coming down all the time at the moment. So now just over 12 seconds as Lopez is coming to the pit lane. He's then got to hold that X2019 around on the slowest tyre possible, whilst Blažan behind on the fastest. And he comes into the pit lane then, onto that hard compounder tyre, will be just in and out, no fuel. Here's Patrick Blažan coming through the bus stop now. I really think Lopez is going to be ahead coming out the pit lane, but what's the gap going to be? That's the important thing. Here's Patrick Blažan, the Hungarian, coming now down to sort of starting his final lap. Where is Coque Lopez? Still in the pit lane. He's now out the pit lane. What's the gap? From around the source. And there is Coque Lopez. There's Rick Kevelam as well. Kevelam's going to get out ahead. Oh, he does. And Blažan waits. Interesting. So Blažan's now got to get by Kevelam and Lopez. He won't gain 5 seconds. I think Coque Lopez has got this.
I think Lopez has got this. I think Kevelam's going to come under some pressure though, because the hard time for Kevelam is going to be very hard for him to resist Patrick Blažan, and Blažan on the Kevel straight goes through into 2nd position. So you called it absolutely perfectly, Jimmy. Coque Lopez has sewn this one up.
Oh my word, I did not see that going. And there's the live point rankings. If this finishes as it is, Coque Lopez will smash the competition and win this by 8 points to become European champion. It'll be his first time winning one of these events. But what a way to do it!
Unbelievable. Look at Kevlin now coming under pressure from Jose Serrano. Here, though, is Coque Lopez coming down into P1. I need to keep a look, though, behind because Serrano is really putting that pressure on to Rick Kevlin for the final position on the podium. Here is the Spaniard, then he's on the soft tyre. Kevlin's on the back foot on the hard compound of tyre into the Fagner chicane. Kevlin's going to try and defend, but late on the brakes there for Serrano. Tries to get the long way around the outside. Can he make the move stick? Yes, he can. Brilliant driving there from Jose Serrano. Great respect from Rick Kevlin as well, giving him racing room into there. And the Spaniard is on the podium here in the grand final for the EMEA region. Absolutely fantastic racing we have had all weekend here. What brilliant racing we've had in the final as well. And it does come down to the final lap in the EMEA region. And what a race from Coque Lopez, asserting his dominance in this one around the final corner. And he comes over the line here at Spa-Francorchamps to become the EMEA regional final champion. Classic from Coque. Lajan comes home second. Serrano in third. Beauvois on the final chicane as well. He's got it all at sea. He's going to lose out on 7th place. The Swillow's lost out. There's big drama at the final corner. Beauvois comes home second. What's happened to the Swillow there as well? And Gallo's lost out. Gallo's down in 12th place. He's out of the points. I don't believe it.
That is disastrous then for Gallo there. I don't know if I think he's done enough to get through, but no point from the double header. Meanwhile, Coque Lopez, I think someone's told him he's done it. He's over the moon, absolutely elated with that. And we are being told there's going to be a Stewart's investigation into that last little bit of action there. But Coque Lopez, undoubtedly the winner there. What a race for Coque.
We can see Baptiste Beauvois from our commentary position. He looks absolutely incensed with what happened there.
So then race over, and here are our full confirmed race standings. Of course, it's Coque Lopez with that fantastic 4-stop strategy, taking the win from Patrick Blajan. Late charge from him put the Hungarian back on the podium where we're used to seeing him. And Jose Serrano, I think probably the story of this entire final. There is third position. Fantastic job from him.
Standout performance, really, wasn't it, from Jose Serrano? No surprise to see him up there at all. Great to see Adam Tapai inside the top 5. Salvatore Maraclino with not a bad race at all there for him. Baptiste Beauvois, Giorgio Mangano all inside the top 8, as well as Manuel Rodriguez. And Adam Sassuolo, again, really strong qualifying from him. Didn't translate to a strong race result, though.
It was looking good for a while for Sassuolo, but I think he just went down a traditional sort of 2-stop route, and it just didn't work out. It wasn't really the right track for it, I think. But, of course, big stories for that going into the race, as we had Gallo and Beauvois, first and second. And we come out of that race, we have Gallo finishing 13th after a last corner incident, and Beauvois, of course, in 7th, which is, by their standards, abysmal races for them.
I mean, yeah, especially where they were going into it. We thought it was just a 2-horse race, really, at the top of the order, didn't we? It turned out to be 5 or 6 drivers who are all in amongst the mix now. It's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, that last corner incident really kind of defined it for Valerio Gallo. I think he was very frustrated.
What a disaster.
Yeah. You're completely right there, Jimmy. Well, let's go over to Coque Lopez then, talking to Julia.
Coque, how are you feeling? You have won it overall. Could you be happier right now?
So it's just an amazing feeling. I didn't expect to be here. Overall, because the 2 first races for me were not as I expected. So my only chance was to try to get a good start and to be lucky that Tsutsu and Valerio were not in the podium, and I would have to win the race. And I'm sorry for my mates, because I think Tsutsu spun and Valerio had also some mistake. I would also like to be fighting against them, but I'm so happy because of the victory, of course.
I mean, Coque, the strategy, did you have that strategy with your tyres in mind when you first started it? Did you just pull off the greatest move in like Gran Turismo history, like sneaked it into it?
So I will say, as you know, this was also a combination of the final in the World Tour in New York, and I also got a podium there. But in that time, I also started on softs, but I saved fuel. This time I said, okay, starting on softs, I think is the best. And then I didn't save fuel. I tried to be first, because starting from fifth, I didn't want to have any traffic. So then when I was first and I was leading by more than the time you lose on a stop, I decided to change from 3-stop to 4-stop just to be more time on the soft tire because it's the safer way to go. You saw Span was on the medium tire. So for me, medium was more dangerous. So I used another stint of softs instead.
It's everyone here was unbelievably impressed. We're now calling it doing a Lopez. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, of course. It's my first win in a Gran Turismo event, like in individual, because I also won in Sydney. So of course, it's a pleasure for me. I'm so happy, and also they are good points for the World Finals as well.
It's all good stuff. You've created your own meta strategy, which is huge. People will write books about it, I'm sure. But Coque, it's been spectacular to watch you drive. A big, big congratulations from everyone here in the studio.
Thank you so much.
Well, an overjoyed Coque Lopez there. I think it's fair to say he seemed pretty happy with that one.
I think he sort of had the same level of expectations we did. He's, I won? Nice.
Well, the incident at the final corner was a big talking point as well. We saw Valerio Gallo outside of the points. He was incandescent with rage at the end of that one. But the stewards have reviewed whatever happened because we didn't see the full incident, haven't seen the full incident as of yet. And they've taken no further action.
Yeah, so basically that means that there was no foul play. We do have the clip now so we can talk through it. It's the first time of us seeing it at the moment. Here it is, Adam Tosquillo going wide there. Beauvois basically starts off, he gets it wrong, goes onto the curb on the inside. That causes Tosquillo to get things wrong. And in the background, Gallo gets in the power a little bit too early.
Here we go.
Just loops it around. So we'll look at it again now.
He's with Giorgio Mangano into there. Was there a bit of contact between them? A little bit. Gallo went offline coming into the second part of it. There was a bit from Rodriguez. There was contact with Manu Rodriguez there. Looked like a racing incident from what I could see. But either way, here, Valerio Gallo. Let's see it on board then here.
Gets it wrong coming into the bus stop. Contact of Mangano. And look, here comes Rodriguez. Biff, through I go. And then just trying to get the car going again. This thing's just does not accelerate.
Here we go. Still. Yeah, let's see what happens then. So there's the contact with Mangano coming back on. Here's Manu Rodriguez going up the inside. Opportunist on the curb. It's tricky, that one. I can understand why they wanted to call it a racing incident. I mean, what do you think on it? Where's your take?
I think it's a bit of 3 into 1, really. I don't know. I mean, the factor is, for me, in my opinion, is that Gallo's there. Can't just drive into him and spin him and then drive off.
The thing is, obviously, Rodriguez even was on the sausage curb on the inside. Once you get on there, the car gets unsettled naturally anyway. It's always going to chuck you that little bit wide. But
yeah, but no, that's what it is. FIA has said no further action, which means that we have the final standings for the whole thing. Or the whole bread and butter sandwich?
Possibly. I don't know where on earth you're going with this. Again, you've always got these weird analogies. Anyway, you can see at the top of the order, Coque Lopez sits there, 38 points. If you put a tenner on him at the start of this weekend, I think you'd be in with a nice... I was going to say a nice trip down the pub, but you're not able to do that at the moment.
I wouldn't be back, would I?
No, exactly. That's very true. Jose Serrano making it a Spanish 1-2 there as well. Baptiste Beauvois, I mean, I think he'll be really pleased with finishing third, given how that last race was. I mean, that was a really difficult last one for him.
I mean, you know Baptiste. Baptiste is sort of an all or nothing kind of guy, so he'll be upset that he didn't win. He'll be relieved he went through though, because really, at the end of things, as long as you're in the top 8 here, you go into the World Finals. So that's the important thing.
Yeah, absolutely right. Some other shout-outs as well to the likes of Adam Tapai. Really good second race from him. Patrick Blajan really likes these Red Bull X2019s, as it turns out. Seems to be coming good in those. Kevlam and Mangano, the last of the drivers who make it through. Sadly, Mariclino, Moisov, Kononen, Rodriguez, Sassuolo, Malki, Salazar and Marcin Swideric will go no further in the EMEA Regional Final. So let's take a look, shall we, at some of the other incidents out on track during that race, because it's a bit of an action-packed one at Spa-Francorchamps. So you can see on your screen here, this is Coque Lopez in 4th position, going side by side with Adam Sassuolo. This is on the opening lap. The Spaniard getting himself ahead through the Fania chicane. Nice move there from him. This is Baptiste Beauvois. This could have been what cost him a stronger result in that one. Into the wall on the outside of turn number 9.
It's a defining moment for him. Meanwhile, we had 3 cars fighting for 3rd position. Kevlam, Tosquillo and Giorgio Mangano, of course, on different tyre strategies as well. Tosquillo coming out better on that, and Mangano having to wait, a bit of contact between the two again. Here's Coque Lopez. This is the pass for the lead on Jose Serrano, and this was where Coque's strategy started to unfold.
Certainly was, yeah. Coque really did put the bit between his teeth and tried to make a very unorthodox strategy work. Here is Blajan versus Serrano. Nice simple move there, Steve, going up the top of the Campbell Straight into Les Combes, but Serrano didn't take it lying down, did he?
So he fought back around the outside, at least he tried to. That was the traditional passing place at the end of the Kemmel Straight. I think that's pretty much where everyone was going for their moves.
Here was Mangalo and Depay as well. Here it is. This is the sit-down moment you mentioned earlier. It goes right the way around the outside of Blanchimont. He'll be texting Mangalo after the race saying, "Did you see that, mate?" I saw that.
Yeah, we saw that as well. Adam Depay with some very interesting moves being made there. This is on the penultimate lap. This is, of course, Coque Lopez coming out of the pit lane here. And this was one of the defining moments of the race here, Steve, with Lopez coming out ahead of Blajan and Rick Kevelan on the final lap.
Yeah, so Blasan kind of saw him come in and just thought, right, I'll lift off, have a tactical lift, and then shoot back past him on the Kemmel Straight.
So, of course, the Michelin Driver of the Day, a coveted award by all of our drivers here. And we basically gave Steve the charge to pick out of these two particular drivers. Obviously Jose Serrano, who came from nowhere and has done exceptionally well in the competition, and Valerio Gallo. Now, Steve, what's your thinking in terms of how you're going to decide who is the driver of the day here?
Well, after the first two races, you probably would have gone with Gallo because of, his perfect performances, but then kind of dropped the ball a little bit. Well, I say a little bit, quite a lot in that final race. Yeah. And therefore, I think we're going to go with Jose Serrano. First time regional finalist, just did a really consistent, solid performance in all three races.
Yeah, and obviously it is kind of like that pressure. It's all very well kind of, just having like some fun races at home, but when it's like you must perform right now, to then be able to manage that, step up to the plate and, like really give that performance, it's impressive, right?
A lot of the other guys have done this before. So he's coming in, he's not really sure about this type of racing with this sort of pressure, so he did really well.
I thoroughly concur. I think it's a good pick, Steve, so thank you so much for doing that. And we're going to throw it back now to Tom and Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed there, Julia. So a well-deserved Michelin Driver of the Day, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely agree with that. I mean, of course, as Steve said, Gallo, he said drop the ball. He got the ball kicked over the fence. So I think definitely Serrano, definitely winner there.
Yeah, exactly that. Well, we've had some brilliant racing, of course, in the EMEA Regional Final. Huge congratulations to Coque Lopez and indeed all of our 8 competitors who have made it through. Don't forget, of course, we've got more action coming along the way very soon indeed. The Americas Regional Final is here for you next weekend on the Gran Turismo TV YouTube channel. Thank you very much to Julia Hardy, to Jimmy Broadbent, and from myself, Tom Brooks. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you for the Americas Regional Final next week.